Chapter 569. The old granny who was leaning on a wooden walking stick also turned into a ray of light, flying in the deep and cold ice cave passage. Her long hair grew rapidly, turning into many gray-brown tree roots. One by one, the tree roots broke apart, and a total of 9 tree roots broke apart. These 9 tree roots also turned into a gray-robed old granny. The 9 gray-robed old granny also flew at high speed. Following the fork in the road, they immediately split up, and quickly surrounded him from different directions. Humph. Withered Tree Old Mother's eyes were filled with coldness. Little fellow, let's see where you can escape to this time. 9 Yang Palace Head, Prison Dragon Emperor, Sovereign Zhe Nua and Red Transient Empress all quickly closed in on Dongbu Shuai from their respective positions. They had waited for so long, naturally they were not willing to let Dongbu Shuai escape. In the icy cold ice passage, Dongbu Shuai was not the slightest bit nervous. He even felt the cold air, and revealed a smile, enjoying this beautiful world. The final test in the Destruction Paradise allowed him to go through a 10,000-year journey of questioning his heart, and also made his state of mind even more pure and clear, and even more undisturbed by external things. Snow Eagle, I sense 9 Yang Palace Head and the other 4 are approaching. Among them, the fastest is Withered Tree Old Mother. Her real body and 9 clones are all approaching, and one of the clones will arrive very soon. Monarch Imo Shui, who was in the inner world, immediately reminded. Oh? Dongbu Shuai also knew of Withered Tree Old Mother's clones, but since he chose to come out, and wanted to bring Jing Qiu along, he was already prepared to be surrounded. Regardless, he continued to advance along the predetermined route. Suddenly, Shui Ying's ears moved slightly. He could hear some minute undulations coming from his ears. That was the vibration of space caused by flying at an ultra-high speed. This made the edge of Shui Ying's mouth curl into a grin. It's here. Your Highness Dongbua, it's better not to escape, follow this old granny. A gray-robed old granny flew over from the front. Her wrinkled old face had a trace of excitement and anticipation. She really discovered him first. Dongbu Shuai completely ignored her, flipping his hand and extending his right hand. A scarlet cloud spear appeared in his hand. Humph, you still want to struggle? Let Imo Shui come out. He can still fight with me. As for you, Highness Dongbo, when you become a universe god in the 4th heaven, you might be able to fight with me. But now, don't blame me. The gray-robed old granny reached out her right hand, and her shriveled right hand immediately transformed into countless roots. These twisted roots were densely packed, almost blocking the entire corridor. They then shot towards Dongbu Shuai, intending to capture Dongbu Shuai in one fell swoop. Shuai frowned and waved his left hand as he saw the countless tree roots coming towards him. Bang! A surging faint purple flame rushed out, like a huge fire dragon flying out from Dongbu Shuai's palm. At the same time, the temperature in the icy cave rose rapidly, and the ice layer immediately began to melt, turning into water. The water then continued to rise into mist, and the mist only existed for a moment before evaporating into nothingness. The change in the cave was extremely fast. The originally thick ice layer quickly melted and disappeared, revealing its true appearance, a rough and huge passageway. Saying it was slow. The faint purple fire dragon had already pounced on the countless roots in an instant. The 2 of them covered the entire sky, and there was no way to avoid them. Ah! The gray-robed old granny immediately let out a cry of pain. Countless of the roots were almost instantly incinerated, and some of the thinner roots were also incinerated. Only the thickest and main roots were barely able to resist the flames. But such an intense pain caused the gray-robed old granny to reveal an expression of shock and anger. The roots quickly retracted, but the faint purple flame did not let her go, and completely enveloped her body, burning the gray-robed old granny to the point of letting out cries of pain. It was painful. Although this was just an avatar, it still had the strength of a powerful existence. Who would have thought that she would be burned to such an extent, and instantly be at a disadvantage? 10 Apocalyptic Flame, its power is not bad. Dongbu Shuai praised inwardly. The 7th level of the 10 apocalyptic flame was originally something that only stage 4 world deities could cultivate under normal circumstances. Because of the test of the army of destruction, Dongbui Shuang had to spend so much time to cultivate it. Its difficulty was even higher than the 4th boundary of the 3rd volume of the Luminous Sun, and its power was also extremely impressive. As a world deity level secret technique that was close to an absolute art, after cultivating the 7th level, one's strength would be close to that of a powerful existence, and it relied on flames. And the gray-robed old granny specialized in tree roots and wood. Coincidentally, she was countered by the flames. The flames were powerful enough to counter her, and she had only sent an avatar. Naturally, she was burnt to the point where she could not retaliate. Woo woo woo. It was so painful that the gray-robed old granny could only turn around and escape. If she wasted any more time, this avatar would most likely be burnt to ashes. Your Highness Dongbua, you can't escape, stop struggling. The gray-robed old granny was still shouting as she escaped. Withered tree old mother, I'm afraid your strength is not enough. Dongbua Shuang said indifferently, his voice reverberating in this rough and huge tunnel that had already changed greatly. And at this time, Monarch Imo Shui from the inner world immediately reminded, Snow Eagle, Sovereign Zhe Noa is approaching, Withered tree old mother's real body is also approaching, and Ninyang Palace head is also approaching. Understood. Dongbua Shuang nodded, and continued to advance at high speed. In just a breath's time. South. A majestic and huge rock giant whose entire body was burning with flames appeared in front of him. This rock giant also let out a powerful roar, Your Highness Dongbua, it's better if you surrender. As a magma giant that came from the dark abyss, Sovereign Zhe Nua was very confident in his strength. His right palm directly streaked across the sky, his palm rapidly becoming bigger, and directly grabbed towards Dongbua Shuang. On this huge palm, flames rose, and the power caused time and space to faintly freeze. Not only was his strength extremely strong, even his realm was extremely high. Sovereign Zhe Nua, this is my god realm's matter, why do you, a person from the dark abyss, need to meddle? Dongbua Shuang waved the long spear in his hand. When the long spear was waved, it caused the space to distort, and at the same time, the long spear's body also rapidly expanded and became longer. In almost an instant, the long spear's head directly smashed onto the huge rock palm that was enveloping him. The corner of Sovereign Zhe Nua's mouth couldn't help but slightly curl up. Meet force with force. One must know that he had the strength to fight against powerful existences. Although his realm was high, his strength was his greatest advantage. When other experts of the same level fought with him, they wouldn't meet force with force. In battle, one had to display one's advantage and avoid one's weakness. This Highness Dongbua, who was filled with potential, but was still very young, was actually going to meet force with him, Sovereign Zhe Nua. Rumble, Sovereign Zhe Nua's expression suddenly changed. He felt an incomparably vast power that made him feel faintly fearful coming from the long spear. That was a power that far surpassed his. In almost an instant, cracks appeared on his huge palm. Dongbua Shuiying's long spear directly smashed onto his palm, and then directly crushed over, smashing onto his body. He could only use his other hand to block at the same time. The huge body was whipped, and with a swoosh, it transformed into a stream of light and flew backwards, heavily smashing onto the ice layer of the ice passageway in the distance. The ice layer that was more than 100 feet long completely shattered, and the body that was burning with flames smashed onto the black mountain rocks. Sovereign Zhe Nua stared blankly for a moment, unable to react. He looked at Dongbua Shuiying who was wielding the long spear in the distance. He, Sovereign Zhe Nua of the Dark Abyss. An existence that could rival powerful existences. The power that he was so proud of was actually completely crushed. You want to meet force with me? Dongbua Shuiying retracted his long spear, feeling the terrifying power that was surging within his body that could destroy the heavens and exterminate the earth. The luminous sun force was extremely young and extremely ferocious, and the army of destruction soldiers' absolute art extreme annihilation mysterious body cultivated his body to an extremely ferocious state, and also made his power and speed extremely ferocious. Combining the two, Dongbu Shui Ying's battle power directly soared to the level of powerful existences. His realm was only at the stage 3 world deity realm, and he was still far from it. Compared to Sovereign Zainua, compared to powerful existences, he was still much weaker. But why did he have the battle power of powerful existences? It was because his power and speed were too terrifying. So terrifying that it completely made up for the flaws in his realm. Sovereign Zainua and a soldier who grasped an absolute art, and was even the most terrifying army of the ancient universe era, the army of destruction, competing in power? That was simply asking to be humiliated. If he relied on his realm to contend with Dongbu Shuang, he could still hold on for a while. But if he met force with force head-on, he would be directly crushed. Chapter 570. This Dongbu Shui Ying's strength has actually reached such a level. Sovereign Zainua leaned against the black stone wall, but his heart was in turmoil. His strength has completely suppressed me, far surpassing me. Even if his realm is much weaker than mine, just based on this terrifying strength, he can match powerful existences. But, he is only a stage 3 world deity. A stage 3 world deity can match powerful existences. What about a stage 4 world deity? A stage 4 world deity was when one's strength increased the fastest, because they could comprehend by analogy, and grasp grade 1 deity heart after grade 1 deity heart, and could even increase their realm to the same level as powerful existences. Thus, stage 4 world deities fighting across realms was a common occurrence. In history, there were some extremely tyrannical ones, like Emperor Heavenly Cloud, who could even kill powerful existences as stage 4 world deities. And the legendary existence, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. He was a stage 4 world deity, and was known as one of the 3 ancestors in the Bloodshed God Palace. Even his lifespan was ridiculously long. This Dongbu Shuang is too powerful. In the future, it won't be difficult for him to transcend and become a powerful existence. I believe he has the chance to become a paragon existence. Sovereign Zainua thought. His attitude towards Dongbu Shuang had changed. Unless there was a treasure that could allow him to transcend, he was not willing to offend Dongbu Shuang. After all, he was helping Ninyang Palace head this time, and it was impossible for him to obtain the true god weapon. Your Highness Dongbu, this flame-controlling secret technique of yours is truly powerful. A hoarse voice with a strange undulation reverberated within the tunnel. It's withered tree old mother. Sovereign Zainua immediately knew, but laughed coldly in his heart. This withered tree old mother was definitely going to suffer. Shoo. Twisted and powerful grayish-brown tree roots streaked across the sky, and heaven and earth faintly changed color. It was as if every tree root contained endless laws and mysteries. With one look, Dongbu Shuang knew that withered tree old mother's true body had come. Her true body's strength was much stronger, especially since these tree roots did not have countless tentacles. Only the trunk attacked, and it could withstand his flames. Be careful, don't fight him head-on. Sovereign Zainua still transmitted a message. Humph. Withered tree old mother leaned on her walking stick. The huge grayish-brown tree roots that separated from her hair had already surrounded and attacked. At this moment, she was filled with anger and wanted to protect her face as a mighty being, so she did not care about Sovereign Zainua's words. Withered tree old mother, is it worth risking your life for the Ninyang Palace head? He was also publicly acknowledged to be an existence close to the paragon level, and was equally famous as Ninyang Palace head and Monarch Guzong. Ninyang Palace head and Monarch Guzong were the personal disciples of Temporal Island Lord and Blood Blade respectively, which was why they had combat strength close to that of a paragon. However, purple-robed Hex Emperor had always been relying on himself. He had immersed himself in researching hex poisons, and it was normal for him to research for billions of years. I didn't expect your highness to know my name. I haven't been out for a long time. Your highness, now isn't the time to chat. How about I bring your highness away first? 9 sons will be here soon. Purple-robed Hex Emperor said. There's no need to trouble Hex Emperor. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Purple-robed Hex Emperor shook his head lightly, it's not troublesome. Just as he finished his words, Dongbu Shuang felt a wave of dizziness. Luckily, he had cultivated the extreme annihilation mysterious body, and his body was extremely strong, much stronger than many powerful existences. His endurance was also much stronger. Although he felt dizzy, he was still able to maintain his consciousness. The soldiers of the army of destruction weren't that easy to capture. Not good. Dongbu Shuang immediately retreated explosively. Then, purple-robed Hex Emperor was astonished. Even ordinary powerful existences would have fainted and collapsed. This Dongbu Shuang was actually able to withstand it. Wasn't his body's resistance to hex poisons too strong? With this explosive retreat, Dongbu Shuaying's speed immediately soared. If purple-robed Hex Emperor wanted to capture him again, he would have to waste some time. However, there wasn't enough time. South. A cold youth instantly flew over from afar. His face was filled with killing intent as he glanced at Withered Tree Old Mother. Withered Tree Old Mother stood beside purple-robed Hex Emperor and smiled. This old granny has a favor to ask of Hex Emperor. Palace Head, I'm sorry. Nine Yang Palace Head looked coldly at purple-robed Hex Emperor and said solemnly, Purple Robe, you want to fight with me? You are someone who studies hex poisons and you want to snatch true god weapons? Every true god weapon has its own path. I am currently stuck at a bottleneck and am unable to improve. I can only use it as a reference. Maybe I can be inspired and take that step. Purple-robed Hex Emperor's face, which was filled with purple god markings, smiled. Nine Yang, you have the absolute art of Time Island Lord. However, if you were to fight with me, I'm afraid the one to take away His Highness Dongbu will still be me. So, I advise you to give up. Is that so? Nine Yang Palace Head's eyes were filled with killing intent. The two of them faced each other from afar. The terrifying aura caused the hearts of the surrounding Withered Tree Old Mother and Sovereign Zhe Nua to tighten. The two of them were extremely powerful and their battle prowess was close to that of a paragon. Ordinary almighty existences couldn't fight against them at all. You should know that your chances are very low. Purple-robed Hex Emperor was still indifferent. Nine Yang Palace Head's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. He knew that in terms of battle prowess, the two of them were equal. However, purple-robed Hex Emperor had walked up step by step and didn't have any absolute art. To have such battle prowess, he relied on many techniques. He had many techniques. For example, some of his clones were much stronger than Nine Yang Palace Head. Nine Yang Palace Head understood that his chances of success were less than 10% when the two of them snatched Dongbu Shuang. Seems like I still have to make a move. Purple-robed Hex Emperor's golden eyes started to have countless runes circulating. He could see the laws of heaven and earth clearly and his killing intent started to rise. Dongbu Shuang, who was far away, also felt threatened. He transmitted a message, Big Brother Huacheng, I can't fight against these two. Who? A figure appeared beside Dongbu Shuang. It was Paragon Huacheng. Leave it to me. Don't worry, it won't be long. Paragon Huacheng grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. He then stepped on the void and walked over. The distant Nine Yang Palace Head and purple-robed Hex Emperor felt an intense sense of danger at the same time. It was as though a huge sun star was approaching. The two of them hurriedly turned their heads. From afar, they saw a figure bathed in blazing flames walking over. His figure was majestic and he wore simple clothes, revealing a patch of red skin. He had messy red hair, a red beard, and red eyebrows. It was as though he was the ruler of the flames. His eyes looked over, and there seemed to be endless volcanoes hidden deep in his eyes. Paragon Huacheng. Purple-robed Hex Emperor and Nine Yang Palace Head were shocked. Paragon Huacheng was an extremely ancient paragon. His master was also the first ruler of the deity world and abyss, the primal master. Paragon Huacheng had lived for far too long. His strength was also extremely tyrannical. Before Monarch Green and the rest rose up, Paragon Huacheng was already one of the strongest paragons. At that time, even Pang Yi had to stand slightly behind. Dongbua Shuang is my brother, a life and death brother. Paragon Huacheng's entire body was covered in blazing flames. His eyes emitted an overwhelming pressure. Are you guys going to scram? Or should I beat you up? Paragon Huacheng's voice was like thunder, rumbling over. Chapter 571. Purple-gowned Hex-Emperor and Nine-Yang Palace head felt suffocated as the pressure shrouded their hearts. If it was some new paragon who had just opened up his own Dao path, the two of them wouldn't be afraid. But Paragon Huacheng was different. He had lived for far too long, and had long opened up his own Dao path. Furthermore, he had walked very far on this Dao path. The difference in power between them was obvious. Even if they joined hands, they would be easily suppressed. Hong heat waves surged forth, causing the stable space of Lake Heart Island to distort. Greetings Paragon Huacheng. Purple-gowned Hex-Emperor bowed slightly. Paragon Huacheng looked at him and nodded. Purple-gowned, remember the last time we met, you were just an ordinary true god. Now that your power has reached such a stage, it is all because of your own comprehension. You are close to opening your own path. Purple-gowned Hex-Emperor smiled humbly. Paragon Huacheng has overpraised me. I am also stuck at a bottleneck. I always feel that there is an invisible barrier when I want to take this step. Hence, I came out to seek opportunities. And, don't be anxious. Take it slow. Paragon Huacheng said. Although he was overbearing, he had no killing intent towards Purple-gowned Hex-Emperor and Nine-Yang Palace head. Since Paragon Huacheng is willing to stand up for His Highness Dong Bo, I will naturally not pester you any further. I will take my leave first. Purple-gowned Hex-Emperor smiled and immediately brought dried tree old mother away. Only the Nine-Yang Palace head was unwilling. Paragon Huacheng's oppressive gaze landed on Nine-Yang Palace head. He curled his lips. Nine-Yang, you are a disciple of Temporal Island Lord, and a personal disciple of Island Lord. Now, you are equal to Purple-gowned. Now, you still want to snatch Monarch Mo Shue's true god weapon. Dongbua Shuang. Nine-Yang Palace head bellowed. From afar, Dongbua Shuang flew over and landed beside Paragon Huacheng. He immediately said politely, Nine-Yang Palace head, Monarch Mo Shue has done me a great favor. I will definitely protect him. Although his power had increased by a lot, it was not the time for his wife's identity to be exposed. After all, Paragon Huacheng could not protect him all the time. Once he became a stage 4 world deity, there would be nothing to worry about. You owe me a great favor. What kind of great favor is it for you to risk your life like this? Nine-Yang Palace head was enraged. Isn't it just some pointers during the Myriad Flower Feast? You've already repaid the karma by protecting his kingdom. I will act according to my heart. I cannot back down from this matter. Dongbua Shuang said. Paragon Huacheng, who was at the side, glared as a formless heat wave rushed over, causing Nine-Yang Palace head's expression to change. A layer of misty sword light appeared on the surface of his body, blocking the heat wave. Paragon Huacheng scolded angrily, Nine-Yang, I've given you face. Moreover, entering the ruins to explore, obtaining treasures depended on one's own means. Mo Shue risked his life to obtain a true god weapon. It was his luck. It would have been fine if you had relied on your strength to snatch it, but now I am here. Your strength is far from enough, so don't act like a scoundrel. The Nine-Yang Palace head gritted his teeth. He was unwilling. He had cultivated for a long time, but he was unable to take that step to open his own path. This true god weapon was a fortuitous encounter. Scram! Paragon Huacheng no longer had any patience. Let's go. Nine-Yang Palace head took a glance, gritted his teeth and turned to leave. Sovereign Zhe Noa and Emperor Prison Dragon who had rushed over also left swiftly. Dongbua Shuang looked at this scene. Big Brother Hua Cheng's reputation was indeed widespread. He didn't even bother to make a move, and the other party immediately retreated. Nine Yang, this kid, has extraordinary potential. Paragon Hua Cheng's eyes under his red brows were filled with regret, a pity that his cultivation heart is flawed. He is too eager for instant benefits, and is trying his best to find all sorts of external support to become a paragon as soon as possible. But the more anxious he is, the less hope he has. External support is ultimately just external support. He still has to rely on his inner self. Nine Yang Palace head should also understand this logic. Dongbua Shuang said, knowing is easy, but doing is hard. And then, Paragon Hua Cheng nodded. Knowing is easy, but doing is hard. Everyone understood this logic. But to truly achieve it, it was difficult. Let's go and fetch your wife. Paragon Hua Cheng laughed. Dongbua Shuang immediately led the way, advancing rapidly. In the ice cave at the periphery of Lake Heart Island, Jing Qiu was meditating here. But today, she was standing on a piece of ice, looking into the distance. Father. Jing Qiu saw the figure of the white-haired, white-bearded, black-robed old man, and couldn't help but be overjoyed. Daughter. Monarch Imo Shua also flew over. The father and daughter pair hugged each other upon meeting. Jing Qiu's eyes were filled with tears. Her father had given her the true God weapon, and very soon, her father would be reincarnating. This made Jing Qiu's heart filled with reluctance. Not far away from them, Dongbua Shuang and Paragon Hua Cheng were looking from afar. Paragon Hua Cheng, who was dressed in scarlet red, with red hair and red brows, stood there emitting heat waves, causing the surrounding ice to melt. He looked from afar. Nine Yang and Purple Gown don't know that this Mo Shua is your father-in-law. Your wife isn't bad either, to actually be a stage 4 world deity. Paragon Hua Cheng's eyes had a trace of reminiscence. In his eyes, Monarch Mo Shua, Jing Qiu, and Dongbua Shuang were all little fellows. After all, he had been imprisoned for more than 100 billion years just this time. It's a pity that without transcending, there's no way to be eternal. Dongbua Shuang sighed. As long as one lives happily, there's no need to care about the length of time. Paragon Hua Cheng laughed. Oh right, brother Dongbua, I've told you before that if you save me, I'll give you a huge benefit. It's a pity that your strength is still too weak, and this benefit isn't of much use to you. It's of great use to your master's blood blade. Dongbua Shuang asked, what great benefit? Back then when I barged into Lake Heart Island, even though I was ultimately imprisoned, I also obtained a huge harvest. Paragon Hua Cheng smiled. I discovered the records of an ancient cavern dwelling. It's a cavern dwelling that the Lake Heart Island master once lived in. A cavern dwelling that the Lake Heart Island master once lived in? Dongbua Shuang was astonished. Lake Heart Island master. Even though this time when he came to Lake Heart Island, he had merely entered a dangerous place, the ruined paradise, and that was merely the encampment of an army under him. It wasn't even the true core of Lake Heart Island. But just this dangerous place alone made Dongbua Shuang understand how incredible the Lake Heart Island master was. The cavern dwelling that he once lived in. Just thinking about it, one would know that it was definitely extraordinary. And then Paragon Hua Cheng nodded. The Lake Heart Island master should have wanted to leave behind some gifts for the living beings of the future cosmos epochs. That's why he left behind so many opportunities. The records of the Lake Heart Island master's ancient cavern dwelling that I discovered should be one of the gifts that the Lake Heart Island master intentionally left behind. It's a pity that such an existence as cavern dwelling, even if it was intentionally left behind, it would still be filled with danger. Without sufficient power, one wouldn't be able to receive the gifts from the Lake Heart Island master. Paragon Hua Cheng said, Brother Dongbua, your power is still too weak. It's not suitable for you to participate in this. I understand. Dongbua Shuang nodded. He was only a stage 3 world deity. Even if his fighting power had increased tremendously, he wouldn't be a match for Nine Yang Palace master and the rest. Not to mention some of the ancient paragons, or even his master, Blood Blade, who was a ruler-level existence. I have already informed my master and Blood Blade of the news. Paragon Huacheng smiled. This time, the investigation of the Lake Heart Island Master's ancient cavern dwelling will be carried out by my master and Blood Blade. Originally, I planned to only carry out the operation with my master's faction. But now, both factions are working together. This is all because of you, Brother Dongbua. Dongbua Shuang was stunned. Snow Eagle. A voice suddenly rang in Dongbua Shuaying's mind. Master. Dongbua Shuang immediately recognized that it was his master, Blood Blade. He could even feel that from a faraway place, his master, Blood Blade, was looking at him. Come with Huacheng to the God Palace to see me. Blood Blade transmitted. Yes. Dongbua Shuang replied. Not bad, kid. You're quite powerful. You can even help your master. Another voice rang in Dongbua Shuaying's mind. It was the voice of the Black Bird. Chapter 572. After Monarch Emo Shui reunited with his daughter, he was not in a hurry to reincarnate. Even though his true deity heart was about to collapse, with his realm, it was still easy for him to drag on for 1,000,000 years. He still wanted to arrange some matters before reincarnating. Follow me. Dongbua Shuang brought Paragon Huacheng, Jing Qiu and Monarch Emo Shui through the inner cave of Lake Heart Island. After flying for close to an hour, finally, they arrived at an enormous cavern within the belly of the mountain. Shuang first waved his hand, sending Jing Qiu and the others into his inner world. I'd like to request for Lake Heart Island to send me out. Shuang announced. Instantly, a wave of power descended. Hua! Dongbua Shuang was directly wrapped up and thrown out along a passage formed by invisible laws. As a soldier of the Army of Destruction, when fighting outside, there was naturally no need to painstakingly pass through the lake water layer. In fact, there was a way to directly send him out from the Destruction Paradise. Moreover, within Lake Heart Island, there were many places that could be teleported. We're out. Dongbua Shuang looked at the vast void in front of him. Turning his head, he saw that huge silvery white water ball in the distance. That huge silvery white water ball was Lake Heart Island. Back then, passing through the lake water layer to reach the island took 11 years, but coming out took only an instant. So. Jing Qiu, Monarch Emo Shui and Paragon Huacheng appeared by the side. We came out just like that. Paragon Huacheng looked into the distance in shock. Even if it was me, I would have to painstakingly pass through the lake water layer. Dongbua, you have become one of Lake Heart Island's people, entering and exiting is much easier. We were directly teleported out. Monarch Emo Shui said, looks like Lake Heart Island is still operating. And even the great destruction of the universe could not destroy Lake Heart Island. Naturally, Lake Heart Island is still operating. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Previously, when he talked to the commander, he knew that Lake Heart Island had its own order. It allowed them, these beings from the later epochs, to explore. If it was forbidden, Blood Blade might not even be able to reach the island. Are we going to the Bloodshed God Palace now? Dongbua Shuang asked. No hurry, my master will be here soon. Paragon Huacheng said. Dongbua Shuang was shocked. Big Brother Huacheng's master was the first ruler of the God world and the abyss. The space beside them split open, and an old man in plain robes walked out. There was no pressure coming from him, and he was like an old farmer working in the fields in the mortal world. His aura was gentle, and his eyes were ordinary. However, no matter how one looked at it, this ordinary-looking old man was able to nullify the laws of the world around him. He seemed to be moving very slowly, but with just a single step, he was already right before Dongbua Shuang and the others. Monarch Emo Shui was shocked and excited, while Jing Qiu was still puzzled. She did not know who Paragon Huacheng's master was. And Monarch Emo Shui had lived for a long time, so he knew some secrets. Master! Paragon Huacheng shouted. Greetings, Senior Primal. Dongbua Shuang suppressed his excitement and greeted respectfully. Monarch Mo Shui and Jing Qiu also greeted, "Greetings, Senior Primal. Dongbua, it is all thanks to you that Hu Cheng could come out of the Destruction Eden. If you are free, you can come to my primal world for a walk." Primal Master said. Dongbua Shuang acknowledged. Primal, he had heard Big Brother Hu Cheng introduce him before. He was the earliest ruler to become a true god. Even though he was gentle, deep in his bones, he was the most arrogant and aloof person in the deity world and abyss. He was usually too lazy to care about other powerful existences. He did not even participate in gatherings like the Myriad Flower Feast. In the earliest period, he had once called himself Primal Taoist because he was the first to open and grasp his own Tao in the deity world and abyss. After that, he opened his primal world and stayed there for a long period of time, calling himself Primal Master. But no matter what, this was an existence with unfathomable strength. An existence that stood shoulder to shoulder with Bloodblade and Temporal Island Lord. Who is he? Even though Jing Qiu was respectful by the side, her heart was filled with bewilderment. Monarch Mo Shui immediately transmitted a message to his daughter. Even though Primal Master wanted to know, he could still receive their message. But with his status, he disdained to do such a thing. What? An existence on the same level as Bloodblade and Temporal Island Lord? Jing Qiu was shocked. She was only a Stage 3 world deity in her previous life. Her understanding of the deity world and abyss was still lacking. Look at your nonsense. Primal Master looked at Paragon Hu Cheng and shook his head. Back then, your avatar was trapped in the Lake Heart Island, yet you still dared to ask your true body to save your friend. The moment your true body died, you were trapped in the Lake Heart Island, unable to leave. Luckily, little friend Dongbua saved you. Otherwise, it would be normal for you to be trapped until the cosmos apocalypse. Paragon Hu Cheng nodded and smiled. This is your true god weapon. Primal Master casually threw it out. It was an enormous axe that was emitting endless heat. That time when his true body died, Primal Master had acted to retrieve this true god weapon for his disciple. My luck is good, meeting my brother Dongbua. Paragon Hu Cheng snickered. Your avatar is currently trapped in the Destruction Eden, unable to die. Leaving only this avatar to move about outside, don't be too careless in the future. Primal Master ordered. It's fine. Once my avatar dies, I'll let Brother Dongbua fetch my avatar from the Destruction Eden. Paragon Hu Cheng looked at Dongbua Shuang by his side. Brother Dongbua, I'll have to trouble you when the time comes. You won't reject me, right? Definitely. Dongbua Shuang said. Primal Master lightly shook his head. Let's go, to the Bloodshed God Palace. Speaking of which, it was quite pitiful. Even though he was the #1 ruler in the deity world and abyss, he only had a single paragon under him, Paragon Hu Cheng. Naturally, it was because he was too proud and aloof, unwilling to accept any subordinates. Who? Primal Master brought Dongbua Shuang and the others, forming a blurred tunnel around them. Not even a breath's time had passed before they walked out of this blurred and distorted tunnel. In the distance, they could already see the Bloodshed God Palace land floating in the starry sky. Dongbua, you and Hu Cheng will follow me to see the Bloodshed God Palace. Primal Master indifferently said. Yes. Dongbua Shuang acknowledged. At the same time, he instructed his wife and father-in-law, Jing Qiu, bring father-in-law to my cavern dwelling in the Crimson Stone Courtyard. This was something they had discussed beforehand. After all, the true god weapon was too important. It was enough for Stage 4 world deities and powerful existences to disregard everything and act for it. Thus, staying within the Bloodshed God Palace was the safest. Here, they could peacefully comprehend the true god weapon. They would not have to worry about anyone daring to snatch it. So. Jing Qiu and Monarch Mo Shui immediately flew into the distance, descending on that land. As for Primal Master, he brought Dongbua Shuang and Paragon Hu Cheng with a step, arcing through the sky, directly descending on the core area of the Bloodshed God Palace. This is Dongbua Shuang looked at the scene in front of him in astonishment. It was an ancient wooden house. Outside the house, Blood Blade, who was dressed in a crimson robe, was currently waiting for guests. On his shoulder was that black bird. Who? The simple-robed old man, Primal Master, walked through the wooden door of the small courtyard. Dongbua Shuang and Paragon Huacheng followed behind him. Snow Eagle, come over here. Blood Blade ordered. Yes, teacher. Dongbua Shuang hurried over, standing by his teacher's side. Blood Blade glanced at Dongbua Shuang, his face filled with unconcealable satisfaction, being able to enter the army of destruction of Lake Heart Island at stage 3, and having cultivated for such a short period of time, not bad. It's just that with your strength, you dared to barge into Lake Heart Island. You have exceeded the limits of your strength, and that is no longer tempering yourself, but sending yourself to death. Dongbua Shuang did not dare utter a word. Little friend Dongbua is not bad. It is all thanks to him that we were able to save Huacheng. Primal Master said. Blood Blade also looked over. 2 existences at the peak of the deity world and abyss. One was the oldest, the first to become a ruler. The other one was faintly the most powerful one. Shall we go to the ancient cavern dwelling to take a look? Blood Blade had a smile at the corner of his mouth. This was indeed a huge benefit. Primal Master lightly snorted, you should thank this disciple of yours. You don't have to worry about that. Blood Blade's smile became more obvious. Star. Chapter 573. Dongbua Shuang stood obediently by the side while Paragon Huacheng stood beside Primal Master. Blood Blade and Primal Master had already sat down and started to discuss the matter of entering the ancient cave dwelling. Your Majesty God Emperor, Master, these are the detailed records of the ancient cave dwelling. Paragon Huacheng also handed over a gray scroll which recorded the detailed information of the ancient cave dwelling. Blood Blade and Primal Master took a look. As expected of the strongest legendary existence in the many epics of our universe. Blood Blade praised, one ancient cave dwelling and we can see his methods back then. I only regret that I was born too late and didn't have the chance to meet such an existence. Deep and unfathomable. Primal Master, who was proud and aloof, was also filled with admiration. Dongbua Shuang was slightly puzzled when he heard this. He knew nothing about the terrifying existences that were born in the previous epochs of the universe. If not for him going to Lake Heart Island, he wouldn't even know about the so-called universe epochs. But his master dared to say that Lake Heart Island Master was the strongest in all the epochs of this universe. To dare to say such words, it was clear that he had absolute confidence in history. It seemed like Master and Primordial Master knew a lot more secrets than he did. Standing at the peak of this universe epoch, their horizons and knowledge were indeed thousands of times more than his. According to the records, we can enter 6. Blood Blade looked at Primal Master. Half each. Primal Master said. Blood Blade nodded lightly, all right, 3 on your side and 3 on my side. Actually Primal, you don't have many subordinates, so why not give some spots to me? This scroll was left behind by Lake Heart Island Master. 6 spots, it had to be 6 spots. The addition of one of them would probably bring about many variables. Me, Huacheng, and Purple Robe. Primal Master said. Purple Robe? Blood Blade was shocked. Paragon Huacheng was shocked too. Because not long ago, Purple Robe Hex Emperor wanted to obtain a true god weapon from Dongbua Shuang. He's from Pantheon, isn't he? Blood Blade asked. I don't care about the territory's power. Whether he's from the Pantheon Palace or not, it won't affect me bringing him to the ancient cavern mansion, right? The Primal Master did not care. He was a maverick and did not even care about the Pantheon Hall Master. In fact, in the entire God realm, there was only one person that the Primal Master truly cared about, and that was the Blood Blade. As for the Pantheon Palace Master, in his opinion, it was too stupid. Temporal Island Lord? In front of him, they only knew how to hide. Empress Qianhe. Even in front of him, they had to retreat. This was his confidence as the oldest ruler of the divine realm and abyss. However, he attached great importance to Blood Blade. He believed that Blood Blade was qualified to stand on equal footing with him. The Blood Blade was known as the God Realm's #1 in direct combat. But apart from that, the Blood Blade was also known as the #1 assassin in the God Realm and the Abyss. Yes, a ruler was a terrifying assassin. Direct combat was the #1 in the God Realm, but assassination in the dark was the #1 in the God Realm and Abyss. This was why the Blood Blade was so domineering, and the other rulers had to give him face. I once had an incarnation roaming the material world. Back then, I met this purple robe kid and casually gave him some pointers. The Primal Master smiled. After he entered the God Realm, I have been secretly observing his growth. Now, unknowingly, he has accumulated a lot and can open up his own Tao at any time. Opening up his own Tao is extremely important. Letting him enter the ancient cavern mansion and witness the traces left behind by the strongest existences of the many epochs should be of great help to him. Are you prepared to take in a disciple? Asked the Blood Blade. The Primal Master smiled. It depends on whether this purple robe kid is willing. It's not easy for you to take in a disciple. After observing him for so long, he is about to open up his own Tao. That's why you are taking in a disciple. The Blood Blade said, however, you, the great Primal Master, are here personally. This purple robe kid will definitely become your disciple, so I'll congratulate you in advance. Your disciple is also very powerful. The Primal Master was rather pleased, but he still asked, Blood Blade, who are you prepared to bring? Bring Bamboo Mountain and Gutsong. The Blood Blade said, Gutsong is currently stuck at a bottleneck. This time, I'll help him. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master has great potential, but he is still a stage 4 world deity, unable to transcend. Since he has decided to rely on me, I will naturally help him if I can. The Primal Master nodded. This was also one of the reasons he admired Blood Blade. The 3 giants of the deity world, the Temporal Island Lord, Blood Blade, and the Myriad God Palace Head. In his opinion, only Blood Blade cared more about comradeship. After the 2 ruler existences finished their discussion, they set a date for the operation and bade farewell. Brother Dong Bo, if there's anything, just send a message to me. No matter how dangerous it is, I'll rush over as fast as I can. Paragon Huacheng said before leaving. We're going to the ancient cavern dwelling soon. Once we enter, do you think you can come out whenever you want? The Primal Master frowned. This disciple of his was good in other aspects, just that his personality was too straightforward. Previously, it was for the sake of his good friend that his avatar had been imprisoned in the Lake Heart Island. Yet, he still disregarded the danger and acted, ultimately ending up in such a state. I'm going to the ancient cavern dwelling soon. It's fine, I should be out soon. Paragon Huacheng said. Let's go. The Primal Master was too lazy to speak any more nonsense with this disciple of his. South, he directly brought Paragon Huacheng along with him, disappearing from the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. Within the courtyard of the wooden house, only Blood Blade and Dongbush Shuang were left. Naturally, there was also that black bird on the shoulder of His Majesty God Emperor. Snow Eagle. Blood Blade turned to look at Dongbush Shuang. Teacher. Dongbush Shuang respectfully said. This time, it's also because of you that Huacheng has sent this opportunity to me. Blood Blade said, your senior disciple brother Guzong and Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master both owe you a favor. In the future, they will naturally return this favor. Actually, I really want to bring you in, but firstly, you aren't even a stage 4 world deity, so it won't be of much help to you. Secondly, your combat power is too weak, and it's too dangerous inside. If you were to follow me all the time and not experience any danger, then there wouldn't be any difference whether you go or not. This disciple understands. Dongbush Shuang respectfully said. In the deity world and abyss, he was indeed an expert, comparable to those ordinary true gods who had transcended. However, if he wanted to move together with his teacher, Primal Master, Paragon Hua Cheng, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and the others, he felt that his combat power was too weak. This time, the 6 of them, the weakest were his senior disciple Brother Gu Zong and purple-gowned Hex Emperor. They were existences close to the Paragon level, and when facing the weaker new Paragons, they had the ability to protect themselves. When I come out from the ancient cave mansion, I will definitely choose some suitable benefits for you. As your teacher, I won't take advantage of you. Blood Blade said. Dongbua Shuang grinned. Don't be too happy. Blood Blade's expression turned gloomy. Previously, I gave you the position of supervisor, but you actually ran to Lake Heart Island. It seems like this position is too leisurely for you. Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but feel awkward. This disciple knows his mistake. Since you are so leisurely, and your combat power has increased greatly, then I shall give you an important position. Blood Blade said. Chapter 574. Dongbua Shuang listened attentively. Blood Blade looked at him. You should know that my subordinates can be divided into 2. One is the Bloodshed God Palace territory, and the other is the Bloodshed Tavern. Dongbua Shuang nodded. That's right. The territory of the Bloodshed God Palace occupied a third of the entire deity world. It was divided into 19 prefectures, and many armies were stationed there. The armies were also the method Blood Blade used to manage this territory. They were divided into 15 ranks according to their status. Dongbua Shuang was previously a supervisor envoy of the Kamsi Prefecture Eastern Region, one of the 19 prefectures, with a rank of the 3rd rank. As for the Bloodshed Tavern, it was an assassin organization spread throughout the deity world, Dark Abyss, and Material Realm. The status of the assassins was determined according to their combat power. Ultimately, they were divided into 15 ranks. The lowest rank of the assassins was called the Attendant rank. They were all below the 9th rank, and most were peak deities. The main rank was the Manager rank. It was divided into the Black Blade Manager, the Shadow Blade Manager, and the Bloodshed Manager. They were usually ranked from the 9th rank to the 2nd rank. There were even higher ranks. They were the 1st rank, the Bloodshed Tavern Master rank. Every single Bloodshed Tavern Master was in charge of managing countless assassins. To be ranked as the 1st rank, their combat power was at least that of a powerful existence. Above them was the Chief Tavern Master of the Bloodshed Tavern. He was also the strongest assassin in the deity world and Dark Abyss, Blood Blade. I don't have many powerful existences under me, and there are even fewer who are willing to be assassins. My Bloodshed Tavern is spread throughout the deity world and Dark Abyss. I am truly lacking in manpower. Thus, you will be the Bloodshed Tavern Master and be in charge of a region. Blood Blade Tavern Master looked at Dongbua Shuang. As the highest manager of a region, you will be the one to decide how to manage it. As for the details, I will arrange for someone to hand it over to you. Bloodshed Tavern Master. Dongbua Shuang was inwardly speechless. They were the epitome of terror in the deity world and Dark Abyss. They were all super assassins. Above them was the highest commander of the Bloodshed Tavern, Blood Blade. Not willing? Blood Blade asked. An assassin mission? Are they forcing me to kill someone? Dongbua Shuang asked. He was feeling a little resistant in his heart. Blood Blade laughed heartily. You really are a fool. There are only so many Blood Blade Tavern Masters in the entire Divine World and Abyss. Each one of them is in charge of a faction, and I don't have the leisure to interfere with your management. So you can do whatever you want. Even if you let more than half of your assassins die, I won't interfere. Even if you don't want to carry out the mission, I don't care. Slaughter, chaos, or peace. I don't care. I only care about the final result, Blood Blade said. Result? Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. What was the result? You'll know when you take over, Blood Blade said. Do you accept this position? Since you won't force me to do it, I believe that Master won't cheat me. I'll accept it. Dongbua Shuang did not hesitate. Blood Blade smiled. You're still too young and inexperienced. I'll first hand over the Bloodshed Tavern in the Calm Sea Prefecture, Cavern Crane Prefecture, and 9 Rigid Prefecture to you. Since they're all within my territory, it'll be easier for you to manage them. Right, you've become a Stage 4 world deity, and your strength has increased. I'll increase the scope of your management. Yes, Dongbua Shuang said respectfully. The territory of the 3 prefectures might seem huge. However, Bloodblade's Bloodshed Tavern was spread across the deity world, abyss, and material world. There was no need to talk about the material world, as there was no need for powerful existences to manage it. Both the deity world and abyss required supreme experts to manage them. There weren't many powerful existences who were willing to become assassins, so Bloodblade's subordinates were few and far between. Managing the territory of the 3 prefectures was already quite light. This is the token, and this is the robe. Bloodblade waved his hand, and a red robe appeared in midair. There was even a token placed on the robe. The token emitted a terrifying pressure, and one could faintly sense the aura of Bloodblade. It could not be faked. This robe was personally refined by me, and it has many miraculous effects. You'll know once you refine it and wear it. After all, as an assassin, you'll need a suitable robe. Bloodblade said, with this token, you can head to any Bloodshed Tavern branch and use it to prove your identity and status. Understood. Dongbua Shuang immediately kept the token and the unique robe that only Bloodshed Tavern masters could wear. Master, Dongbua Shuang said respectfully, I've become a Bloodshed Tavern master. I wonder if I can enter the Dark Abyss. Bloodblade frowned. You wish to enter the Dark Abyss? Yes. Dongbua Shuang nodded. I have a lifetime of brothers in my hometown, and they suffer in the Dark Abyss day and night. Previously, I wasn't strong enough, so I could only endure. Now that I feel that I'm strong enough, and with my identity as a Bloodshed Tavern master, I might be able to enter the Dark Abyss. Do you know what's special about the Dark Abyss? Bloodblade frowned. This disciple understands. Dongbua Shuang said. The rules of the material world were to protect the living beings within it. The rules of the Dark Abyss were darkness, destruction, and slaughter. It was the convergence of all darkness and chaos. The will of the Dark Abyss guided the living beings of the Dark Abyss to fight and kill outside. The more they killed, the more rewards the will of the Dark Abyss would bestow upon them. It would also favor certain existences more. If an outsider dared to enter the Dark Abyss, it would be like a drop of fresh blood falling into a school of sharks, causing them to go berserk. Killing an outsider would allow one to receive an extremely high reward from the will of the Dark Abyss. This would allow their true deity heart to be cleansed, allowing them to get closer to the darkness. This would allow their devil bodies to become stronger, allowing them to transcend more easily. Thus, even powerful existences who were on good terms with powerful existences from the Dark Abyss would usually meet in the deity world. It was very rare for them to meet in the Dark Abyss. This was because the moment they entered the Dark Abyss, the will of the Dark Abyss would treat them as prey, attracting countless experts from the Dark Abyss to surround and kill them. As long as this disciple isolates himself from all probing and does not allow the will of the Dark Abyss to discover my identity, it should be fine. Dongbua Shuang said, furthermore, I will only use my physical strength in battle, not my world deity energy, so I should not be exposed. Just like how the Crimson Rock Mountain prevented probing, the laws of the material world also needed his permission before they could probe the interior. Otherwise, they would not even be able to enter to investigate. The same logic applied. As long as he did not expose his world deity energy and his identity, the laws of the Dark Abyss would not be able to determine his origins. As long as they were not sure, they would not treat him as prey. However, the moment your identity is exposed, you will be in deep trouble. Bloodblade said, fortunately, the Bloodshed Tavern Master robe I gave you is very effective in concealing your tracks. The laws of the material world, after all, it is not a true living being. It is just a simple will. As long as you are careful, you should be able to avoid its probing. However, if your identity is exposed, you can only rely on yourself. This disciple understands. Dongbua Shuang said respectfully. He understood. The meaning of the God Emperor was very clear. The decision was made by him, so he had to bear the consequences himself. You can accept a mission from one of the bloodshed taverns in the Dark Abyss, then enter the Dark Abyss. Blood Blade said. Yes. Dongbua Shuang said. When are you preparing to go? Blood Blade asked. As soon as possible. Dongbua Shuang said. Then I will immediately arrange for someone to hand over some matters to you. Blood Blade smiled. On this trip to the Dark Abyss, there will be enemies everywhere. Even the members of the taverns I established in the Dark Abyss are all life forms of the Dark Abyss. You must be careful and not expose your identity. This is also a suitable tempering for you. You must definitely not die in the Dark Abyss. Be careful. The Dark Abyss is different from the deity world. That place is extremely evil and terrifying. Those experts from the Dark Abyss grow up in a world of slaughter from the moment they are born. Almost all of them are lunatics. Blackbird said. All right, stop scaring him. You can go first and accompany your wife. Blood Blade ordered. This disciple will take his leave. Dongbua Shuang bowed respectfully. Big Brother Eternal Wind had been trapped for far too long. Now that his strength had increased, he could no longer wait. It had already been tens of thousands of years since Big Brother Eternal Wind had been captured into the Dark Abyss. As for waiting for him to become a Stage 4 world deity, even another 100,000 years might not be enough. He was only afraid that Big Brother Eternal Wind would not be able to hold on. Dark Abyss. Dongbua Shuaying's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness. Cultivating the extreme annihilation mysterious body gave him a powerful self-defense ability. This was also the reason why he dared to enter the Dark Abyss. Chapter 575. After Dongbua Shuang took his leave, he headed towards Crimson Stone Courtyard. Senior Brother. Senior Brother Dongbua. In Crimson Stone Courtyard, the inner disciples and honorary disciples of God Emperor greeted Dongbua Shuang respectfully when they saw him. In this era, below the Almighties, Dongbua Shuang was the only personal disciple of God Emperor, and was their senior brother. Moreover, the news of Dongbua Shuang having the strength of a Stage 4 world deity had long spread. Naturally, they were all convinced of his strength. What they did not know was that Dongbua Shuang had gone through a fortuitous encounter on Lake Heart Island, and had successfully cultivated the fourth transformation of Extreme Annihilation Mysterious Body and Luminous Sun. With the combination of the two, he had the strength of an almighty. Just as he walked to the corner of a corridor, a black metallic man walked towards him. Dongbua Shuang could tell with a single glance that this was not a normal life form, but a combat soldier puppet. Moreover, from the faint aura it was emitting, it should have the fighting strength of a Stage 4 world deity. Your Highness Dongbua. The black metallic man walked over and said respectfully, I am here under the orders of His Majesty to hand over some matters. So fast? Dongbua Shuang looked at the black metallic man in shock. This is a communication item. The black metallic man handed over a blood-red ring. Shuang received it. With a thought, he permeated his world deity energy into the ring and refined it. He could immediately sense the many functions within the ring. Through this ring, he could control and manage all the Bloodshed Tavern under his 3 prefectures. Giving out missions, sending orders, dispatching manpower, everything was done through this communication ring. If Your Highness loses the ring, you can directly send a message to me. I can help Your Highness pass down the order. The black metallic man said respectfully. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Just like the temporal temple, the people who dealt with trifling matters were the weapon spirits. In the Bloodshed Tavern, the people who dealt with trifling matters were also these non-living beings. They were more loyal, and did not know fatigue. My master said before that he does not care how I manage, only the results. Dongbua Shuang said. Yes, the result. The black metal man said respectfully, there are two things that your majesty cares about. The first is that any guest who pays a sufficient price can issue a mission. Then my Bloodshed Tavern will do our best to complete it. If it is beyond your highness's capabilities, you can report the mission to his majesty. The other is that every 100 million years, your highness subordinates will bestow at least 300 million contribution points. Oh? Dongbua Shuang nodded. As long as a sufficient price was paid, the mission had to be completed. This was not difficult. If a weak assassin couldn't do it, then they would just send a stronger assassin. As for bestowing at least 300 million contribution points, that was slightly more difficult. It should be known that the Bloodshed Tavern had its own evaluation system for the difficulty of a mission. The number of contribution points awarded for each mission was within a certain range, and one could not mess around. The first point is easy. The black metal said, the second point is actually not difficult. If within 100 million years, the Bloodshed Tavern under your highness does not have enough missions, then your highness can issue your own missions. However, your highness needs to be careful. Giving out missions will also create karma. I understand. Dongbua Shuang nodded his head. Karma? Assassins did not have to worry about karma. Karma was created between the person issuing the mission and the target of the mission. If Dongbua Shuang were to issue the mission himself, he would have to do it cleanly and kill the enemy to minimize the karma. Actually, to transcend and become a powerful existence, a small amount of karma would not have much of an impact. After all, how could one not be tainted by karma when walking through the world and killing and fighting? It was just like spreading faith and making countless living beings believe in it. That would be the karma of countless living beings. Billions of living beings would be tainted by karma, and that would be troublesome. The actions of cultivators were to avoid being tainted by karma, and to have a clear conscience. Cultivating one's heart was very important. If one doubted oneself and started to hesitate, how could one transcend? Why would Master set these two conditions? Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. He is already standing at the peak of the deity world and dark abyss. Why must he establish an assassin organization? As long as the price is sufficient, he must complete the mission. Dongbua Shuang was puzzled. The other point is even more strange. Why must Master ensure that the Bloodshed Tavern has enough missions? It seemed like Master hoped for the more missions, the better. But how would this help Master? Also, Master, the Temporal Island Lord, the Myriad God Palace Head, and the others are all very willing to be the witnesses for the vow. Dongbua Shuang thought. Experts usually did not like to be restricted by oaths. But during crucial moments, they would still make oaths. The oath would usually be witnessed by the Bloodshed God Emperor, the Temporal Island Lord, and so on. The moment one violated the oath, the Blood Blade and the others would instantly kill the violator with a single thought. Killing those violators. I'm afraid they have to kill a lot of them every single day. Dongbua Shuang had a vague feeling. If a person did this, it might be because of their heart. But since Master, the Temporal Island Lord, and the others are doing this, they must have some sort of goal. Also, this Bloodshed Tavern needs to complete so many missions, causing so many massacres. Dongbua Shuang felt that there might be an even deeper secret behind this. His own cultivation base was still too low. His master and the others were all rulers. They probably had their own goals. After pondering for a while in the corridor, Dongbua Shuang returned to his cave dwelling. Snow Eagle. Jing Qiu and Monarch Mo Shui were currently drinking tea and chatting in the courtyard. Seeing Dongbua Shuang enter, they stood up to welcome him. Jing Qiu, father-in-law. Dongbua Shuang greeted. Ha ha ha, Snow Eagle, this time, it's all thanks to you, allowing me to have the leisure to drink tea with my daughter. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. It's what I should do. Dongbua Shuang replied. He then looked at Jing Qiu, I'm preparing to go to the Dark Abyss. Dark Abyss? Jing Qiu and Monarch Mo Shui were both shocked. Jing Qiu asked anxiously, so fast. Is it for Big Brother Eternal Wind? And then, Dongbua Shuang nodded. Jing Qiu was slightly worried, isn't it too rushed? Why not wait until you become a stage 4 world deity and become stronger? In the dark abyss, there would be enemies everywhere. Dongbua Shuang shook his head, if I wait for too long, I'm afraid Brother Eternal Wind won't be able to hold on. Moreover, my strength has increased a lot in the Lake Heart Island, so I'm still confident. At worst, I'll just lose a clone. I'll go with you. Jing Qiu said. No need. Dongbua Shuang laughed, I have a disguise technique. If I bring you along, it won't be easy to disguise myself. Daughter, it's better if you don't go. Your current strength isn't comparable to Snow Eagle. If you go, you'll affect him. The Dark Abyss is different from other places. You can't be careless. Monarch Imo Shui said. While accompanying his wife and father-in-law, Dongbua Shuang also arranged some trivial matters. His wife Jing Qiu naturally stayed in the cave dwelling to comprehend and refine that true god weapon. Monarch Imo Shui instead nurtured a clone. His true body stayed here to cultivate, wanting to pursue the last strand of hope of transcending. His other avatar went to meet his children and juniors. And before Dongbua Shuang left for the Dark Abyss, he had received several messages from powerful existences. Mainly, they were powerful existences from the Bloodshed God Palace, or existences who could fight against powerful existences. Old brother Dongbua, who would have thought that you would be like us so quickly, taking on the position of Bloodshed Tavern Master. Ha ha ha, if there's anything you need help with in the future, just say it. Brother Dongbua is indeed formidable. A stage 3 world deity, yet you can take on the position of Bloodshed Tavern Master. I've heard that you fought with Withered Tree Old Mother, and she suffered a slight loss. Dongbua, all the Bloodshed Tavern Masters belonged to the same faction. They soon knew that the new Bloodshed Tavern Master had appeared. Naturally, they all sent messages to congratulate him, all through the internal communication system of the Bloodshed Tavern. There were even 2 existences who specially sent messages to Dongbua Shuang. Because they did not have any contact imprints, they communicated through karma. These 2 existences were Monarch Guzong and Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. Junior disciple Brother Dongbua, it is all thanks to you that I could have such an opportunity this time. This senior disciple will remember this favor. Monarch Guzong was extremely low profile. Even through karma, he only said a few words. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was much more straightforward. The Lake Heart Island Master left behind the ancient cavern dwelling. This time, it is all thanks to Dongbua that I could enter. I will never forget this favor. If there's anything you need, just say the word. Even if there's a danger of death, I, Bamboo Mountain, will not hesitate. The outside world thought that Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was one of the 3 ancestors of the Bloodshed God Palace. But Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master had always felt a strand of anxiety deep in his heart because he had not transcended in the end. What was the identity of the Lake Heart Island Master? He was the strongest existence across the many epochs of the cosmos. There were 6 quotas to explore the ancient cavern dwelling. How could it be his turn under normal circumstances? If not for Dongbua Shuang, such an opportunity might not even exist in the Bloodshed God Palace faction. They would all be enjoyed by the faction of the Primal Master. Such an opportunity would usually not be taken out for a transaction. Dongbua Shuang naturally would not put on airs. He humbly replied to the 2. On the 3rd day after returning to the Bloodshed God Palace from Lake Heart Island, Dongbua Shuang left the Bloodshed God Palace alone. He first returned to the material realm Xia People's World before leaving for the Dark Abyss. Chapter 576. Amidst the vast violet bamboo sea, there was a bamboo house. In front of the house, there was a purple-robed man drinking wine alone. Prefecture Master, Prefecture Master. Following the shout, a stream of light streaked across and landed in front of the bamboo house. It was a powerhouse with a sturdy body. It was Forefather Fierce Tyrant. Fierce tyrant? Aren't you cultivating in the depths of my violet bamboo sea? Why have you come out? The purple-robed man held his wine cup with his fair fingers. His handsome face had a pair of long and narrow eyes as he glanced at Forefather Fierce Tyrant. Forefather Fierce Tyrant hurriedly said, "Prefecture Master, have you heard? Shuang, that brat, had fought against the Stage 4 world deity Sovereign Zhe Nua of the Dark Abyss in the Lake Heart Island historical remains, and had also fought against the powerful existence Withered Tree Old Mother. He's just a Stage 3 world deity, yet he already has the combat power of a powerful existence. This is too. Prefecture Master, why aren't you reacting at all?" Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master leisurely took a sip of wine and said indifferently, "He's the fastest cultivator to become a Stage 3 world deity in the history of the deity world. What's the big deal about creating a miracle?" Forefather Fierce Tyrant was speechless. He then curled his lips, "Forget it. Prefecture Master, you're already a Stage 4 world deity with the combat power of a paragon. I'm different from him." Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master shook his head. How could they be the same? Those who could become paragons usually grasped an absolute art and opened their own Tao. It wasn't easy to fight a paragon. But Dongbua Shuang is indeed amazing. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master praised. He praised Dongbua Shuang for successfully entering the Army of Destruction and saving Paragon Huacheng. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master could guess that Dongbua Shuang had definitely joined the Army of Destruction. Otherwise, there was no way to save him. Although Pang Yi was also a member of the Army of Destruction, due to his relationship with Primal Master, it was impossible for him to save him. Apart from the high and mighty rulers who disdained to join. Those who knew about the Army of Destruction had all tried. Many true gods and even paragons had been eliminated. But Dongbua Shuang had succeeded. This shocked the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. Because by relying on absolute arts and some opportunities, he might be able to have an extremely strong combat power. But passing through the Destruction Legion trial meant that Shui Ying's cultivation potential was extremely high because the trial was set by the Lake Heart Island Master. Yes, amazing. Forefather Fierce Tyrant hastily said, Aya. He was so close to becoming my disciple. What a pity, what a pity. Your disciple? Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master glanced at him. Don't hold up Dongbua Shuang. What do you mean by delay? Forefather Fierce Tyrant said with dissatisfaction. How long has he been cultivating? His strength is already close to yours, yet you still want to teach him? Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master said with a smile. Forefather Vicious Tyrant was speechless. That was right. Dongbua Shuiying's current strength was indeed similar to his. After all, it was not easy to make Withered Tree Old Mother suffer a loss. I'm preparing to go into seclusion for some time. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master suddenly said, Don't disturb me for now. Oh. Forefather Fierce Tyrant nodded obediently. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master looked into the distance with misty eyes. This opportunity was very precious. He had to grasp it. One had to know that the master of Lake Heart Island intentionally left behind an ancient cave abode. Usually, it was left behind as a fortuitous encounter for the later generations of cultivators. This sort of purposely left behind opportunity would be much more rewarding than going out on an aimless expedition. The master of Lake Heart Island would guide them further on the path of cultivation. This was also the reason why Blood Blade brought along two people. One was Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, while the other was Monarch Guzong. Both of them were in urgent need of breakthroughs. Dongbua Shuang, this time, I owe you a huge favor. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master revealed a trace of a smile. He was very happy to owe such a favor, because this was his fortuitous encounter. In the matter that happened in Lake Heart Island, Dongbua Shuang caused Sovereign King Zhe Nua and Withered Tree Old Mother to suffer a loss. Paragon Huacheng came out and said that Dongbua Shuang was his life and death brother, and helped him force Nine Yang Palace Head and Purple Gown Hex Emperor to retreat. This was not considered a secret. After all, there were quite a few who knew about it. As time passed, it began to spread amongst the powerful existences. Dongbua Shui Ying's reputation also began to grow. Many powerful existences who were cultivating in seclusion also began to take Dongbua Shuang seriously. This world was like this. Power was the most fundamental. Dongbua Shui Ying's power was enough for many powerful existences to treat him seriously. Material world, Xia people's world. Black-robed Dongbua Shuang had just come out from Crimson Rock Mountain. He had left the flying knife true god weapon at Crimson Rock Mountain for his main body to comprehend and refine it. It was not an easy task to refine a true god weapon. Moreover, this trip to Darkness Abyss was too dangerous. Since he had not successfully refined the true god weapon, he naturally could not bring it over. Actually, he and his wife had both comprehended the flying knife and the divine sword. It was just that he was only at stage 3 and had only grasped 3 grade 1 deity hearts. It was more suitable for him to comprehend the flying knife that he was most proficient in. As for the divine sword, the profound mysteries within it far exceeded his current understanding. When he reached the 4th heavenly layer or even higher, he might be able to comprehend that divine sword. South, after leaving the material world, he arrived at the deity world. Following which, Dongbua Shuang boarded the Starfield flying ship and headed towards Darkness Abyss. The Darkness Abyss was in the shape of a twisted pillar. It looked like an intestine and was formed from layers upon layers of worlds. Hence, the Darkness Abyss was also known as the Bottomless Abyss. The entire Darkness Abyss was pitch black, as though it wanted to devour and absorb everything. As expected of the Darkness Abyss. Just by looking at it from afar, I can feel its dark, destructive, and devouring aura, as though it wants to devour and destroy everything. Dongbua Shuang sighed. He stood on the deck of the Starfield flying ship and looked into the distance. In order to hide his identity, the Starfield flying ship had changed its appearance to become pitch black. Dongbua Shui Ying's appearance had also changed greatly. He wore a malevolent mask on his face, and 2 black spiral horns protruded from his head. He was dressed in a dark red robe, and his entire body emanated a terrifying aura of darkness and destruction. This aura was similar to that of a native life form of the Darkness Abyss. One must know that it was extremely difficult to disguise one's life aura. However, Dongbua Shuang managed to do it. It was because of his identity as a Blood Edge Tavern Master that he was bestowed with that robe. That robe was extremely effective in disguising one's life aura. One must know that the Blood Edge Tavern Master had spent a lot of effort to refine these robes, and they were specially prepared for the Tavern Masters under him. Being an assassin was truly not easy. Boom, the Starfield flying ship traveled through the space-time tunnel and finally arrived at the outermost layer of the Darkness Abyss. The world of the Darkness Abyss was made up of layers upon layers. Hence, if Dongbua Shuang wanted to reach his destination, he would have to continuously travel through the layers of the Darkness Abyss. Luckily, the abyssal world where the great demon god, the Air Haup, resided is closer to the top of the Darkness Abyss. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. A boundless will of darkness and destruction swept over. This will was lofty and lofty, carrying with it the aura of slaughter, destruction, and darkness. It was as if it wanted to assimilate everything. However, the area around Dongbua Shuang was isolated from all probing of laws, not allowing the will of the abyss to approach him at all. This feeling of darkness and destruction is truly uncomfortable. Those demons who have been living in the Darkness Abyss since birth actually managed to transcend and become true gods in the end. But just like what Master and the others said, even if they become true gods, they are still lunatics deep down in their bones. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Chapter 577. The Dark Abyss also had land and oceans, towering trees, rivers, and lakes. It was just that this place had a dark aura that never dissipated. This aura nourished every native life form here, causing them to be born with powerful bodies. However, all of them were bloodthirsty and murderous. These native life forms were called demons by the life forms in the material world and the deity realm. Swoosh! A demon was traversing through the forest, carefully paying attention to all directions. The history of a demon's growth was a history of slaughter. To become a demon god, this path was very difficult. Therefore, even the stupidest demon had cunning in their bones. That bone dragon isn't here. It should have gone out to patrol. That's great. This skinny demon stood on a large tree, looking into the distance for a long time before making this judgment. At this moment, rumble, in the depths of the dark red sky, a massive black ship flew over from the other end of the space-time tunnel. The aura it emitted caused the surrounding space to solidify. Its might caused the skinny demon below to involuntarily tremble. The skinny demon could vaguely see an existence emitting a dark aura of destruction standing on the bow of the black ship. With just a glance, before he could even see clearly, the skinny demon immediately lowered his head, not daring to look again. His heart was filled with incomparable fear. Too terrifying. This was many times more terrifying than the Lord Demon God he had seen before. With just a blurry glance from hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, fear enveloped his entire body. Whoosh! Very quickly, the black ship tore through the space-time tunnel once more and continued forward, disappearing from this layer of the dark abyss. Only then did the skinny demon heave a sigh of relief. Who is this existence? Is it some great demon god? To the low-level demons, the great demon god already had an extremely high status. As for the Abyss Sovereign, under normal circumstances, such a skinny demon would never have the chance to see an Abyss Sovereign. Another layer of the dark abyss. In the vast wilderness, undulating mountains and forests, two forces were currently engaged in a frenzied battle. The might of the battle spread in all directions, causing countless trees to collapse. Some were frozen and shattered, while others were set ablaze. Demon legions advanced wave after wave, madly slaughtering. The fiend celestials took the lead and led the army. This was a war that swept across a huge area. This was a battle between two great demon god. The two great demon god were also in the center of the battlefield, fighting in a frenzy. The other demon gods and demons had all retreated far away. He. A 16-armed great demon god stood in the air. His cold laughter rang out across the entire battlefield. One-eyed demon, your avatar has already been destroyed. You even lost your most important blood-refined weapon. You still want to fight with me? This time, you will definitely die. You won't be able to escape. On the other side was a towering great demon god. His head was half the size of his body, and on his head was a single evil red eye. He spoke in a low voice, "You are courting death. My children, follow my will and kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all." The countless demons under the command of the one-eyed great demon god were completely fanatical, not even caring about death. Just then, boom, a large black ship flew out of the space-time passageway from another layer of the abyss world. The invisible aura it emitted made the two great demon gods involuntarily panic. As for the demon gods and countless demons under their command, they were even more instinctive in their fear. At the bow of this huge black ship, the crimson-robed figure with two spiral horns on his head also noticed this large-scale battle. He could not help but glance over. Although he did not deliberately release his aura, just the natural aura alone was enough to cause the demon's vision to turn dark. Their consciousness was in chaos, and they all fell. The demon gods were also trembling. The two great demon god demons were also extremely afraid. One must know that Dongbui Shui Ying's true deity heart cultivation realm had long made his true deity heart like colored glass. It was transparent both inside and out, and could emit light. If he deliberately released his will, these two great demon god demons, who were only at the first layer of the heavens, would instantly die from their true deity hearts exploding. As for those demon gods and demons, the difference in their level of life was too great. A single glance could kill countless of them. Dongbui Shuang only casually glanced at them. Then, he drove the starfield flying ship forward. After passing through this layer of the abyss world, he proceeded to the next layer. When the huge black ship disappeared, only then did the two great demon god demons heave a sigh of relief. Could it be one of the abyss sovereigns? It could even be one of our dark abyss almighties? This power is too terrifying. I don't even dare to move when he glanced at me. The two great demon god demons were slightly shocked. Standing at the bow of the Starfield flying ship, Dongbo Shuang did not care about the billions of demons. Not to mention them, Dongbo Shuang did not even care about the abyss sovereigns of each layer of the abyss world. After all, the deeper one went into the dark abyss, the stronger the abyss sovereigns were. Most of the abyss sovereigns were stage 4 world deities. To him, there was indeed no threat. To threaten him, one had to at least have the fighting power of an almighty. What he was truly wary of was the omnipresent will of the abyss. I must not let the will of the abyss discover my identity. The moment it does, I will become the target of everyone. I'm afraid that many terrifying existences of the dark abyss would come to deal with me. That would be a huge problem. Dongbo Shuang thought to himself, however, as a bloodshed tavern master, this set of robes is indeed very good at disguising itself. The possibility of me being exposed is still very low. South, he passed through layer after layer of the abyss world. 12th layer of the abyss world. Hua! The huge black ship arrived at this layer of the abyss world. The moment it arrived, Dongbo Shuang, who was standing at the bow of the ship, felt a sense of threat. It should be stronger than me. Dongbo Shuang looked into the distance. Then, he immediately drove the Starfield flying ship forward, heading towards the next layer of the abyss world. Hundreds of billions of kilometers away from Dongbo Shuang. This was a vast lake. The lake was dark and calm, without any ripples. In the depths of the lake, a huge creature that was in deep slumber opened its eyes. A pair of blood-colored eyes pierced through the lake water and through the obstruction of space, looking at the huge black ship that was hundreds of billions of kilometers away. A passerby? The huge creature watched as the huge black ship left this layer of the abyss world and headed towards the next layer. Only then did it close its eyes and enter a deep slumber. 23 RD layer of the abyss world. The scenery of this layer of the abyss world was extremely beautiful. The sky was clear and the air was clear. It was the most beautiful and most human-like world that Dongbo Shuang had ever seen. In fact, there were very few clouds in the sky, and the rays of the sun shone on this layer of the world. There were very few ordinary demons in this layer of the world. There were also very few demonic gods and great demon god. Furthermore, they were rather obedient and would rarely start a large-scale war. It was a very calm and peaceful abyss world. But Dongbo Shuaying's heart was in his throat. This was the most dangerous abyss world he had encountered so far. The master of this layer is called White Sovereign King. He is an extremely bloodthirsty paragon from the dark abyss. Dongbo Shuang thought. White Sovereign King was a relatively young paragon, but his reputation was extremely great. It was said that every paragon would walk on their own Tao. This White Sovereign King's Tao was some sort of Tao of slaughter. He fought and slaughtered, and was extremely formidable. In a luxurious palace hall that was rather far away from Dongbo Shuang, there were a large number of chefs sitting in the palace hall, preparing all sorts of delicacies. Plate after plate of delicacies were sent to the front of the esteemed master. And the person eating the delicacies was an extremely handsome man dressed in silver-white armor. Both his hands held onto a blade, and he was very proficient in cutting the food and eating it. He was enjoying it very much. He was White Sovereign King. His killing and bloodthirstiness were famous in the entire abyss. But normally, he was extremely fond of peace and delicacies. Suddenly, he glanced into the distance. He saw a crimson-robed figure on the huge black ship. This robe? Is it some tavern master of the Bloodshed Tavern? White Sovereign King lightly muttered to himself before continuing to eat his delicacies. It was normal for powerful existences to occasionally pass by his world, and he was too lazy to care about them. Only after leaving the 23rd layer of the abyss world did Dongbu Shuang heave a sigh of relief. This was the only existence that could easily kill him along the way. Killing him in a single move was not just for show. Soon, Dongbu Shuang revealed a smile. He continued moving forward. The 26th layer of the abyss world was where his target, the great demon god, De Er Hao, lived. Chapter 578. The last part of the journey passed without any trouble, and the Starfield flying ship soon arrived at the 26th level of the abyss. In truth, not encountering any danger along the way was within expectations. After all, the powerful existences of the abyss often traverse the various abyss realms. It would be a joke if they got into a fight just by passing by. Thus, this journey was quite safe, provided that their identities were not exposed. We're here. Standing on the Starfield flying ship, Dongbu Shuang gazed into the distance, his eyes filled with anticipation. Big Brother Eternal Wind, I'm here. I hope you're still holding on. De Er Hao. Dongbu Ying's eyes were filled with coldness. De Er Hao had infiltrated the Xia people's world from an endless distance, controlling a small amount of power from afar, but he had already caused a bloodbath in the Xia people's world, nearly causing the extermination of the Xia people. Dongbu Shuang naturally would not be merciful towards him, but he had to first rescue Big Brother Eternal Wind and his wife. Big Brother Eternal Wind's willpower is extraordinary. Holding on for tens of thousands of years shouldn't be a problem. The closer Dongbu Shuang got to his goal, the more apprehensive he became. Within a grand hall, a black-armored great demon god sat on the throne. Ha ha ha. De Er Hao sat there, laughing loudly. His face was thin and covered in scales, and he had a pair of huge curved horns. His blood-red eyes gave off a savage aura. Not bad at dancing. Come to my side. The beautiful succubi and illusion demons dancing below all smiled coquettishly and immediately climbed up the stairs to De Er Hao's side, surrounding him and serving him. Although these succubi and illusion demons were low-level subordinates, they were all demonic god existences. Master, is it comfortable? Some illusion demons were massaging him. Master, have a taste of this wine. Some succubi directly kissed De Er Hao, swallowing the wine in their mouths. De Er Hao was also enjoying himself. Most experts of the dark abyss were like this. They were vicious and merciless when killing, but they would also enjoy themselves when they could. Sometimes, they would act like madmen. De Er Hao was in an extremely good mood. That was because he had already broken through to become a stage 3 world deity. It took too much effort to advance from the second heavenly layer to the third heavenly layer. Now, under His Majesty's command, I can be considered to be in the forefront. De Er Hao thought to himself. My territory has expanded greatly, and quite a few great demonic gods have submitted to me. I haven't been cultivating for that long. Even among the stage 3 great demon god, I am still considered very young. Perhaps I will be able to fight until I reach the stage 4 world deity level. At that time, I will be able to find an abyss world and become its monarch. De Er Hao was filled with anticipation. He was indeed considered young. Previously, he did not dare to dream of becoming a stage 4 universe god. But now that he had become a stage 3 universe god, he still dared to think about it. However, I've heard that Dongbu Shuang from the god world is rising very quickly. When De Er Hao thought of this, he could not help but feel a heavy pressure weighing down on him. He is the fastest person to become a stage 3 world deity in the deity world and abyss. Moreover, he has an absolute art at his disposal, and his strength is already comparable to a stage 4 world deity. Dongbu Ying's fame was simply too great. His name had spread throughout the entire dark abyss. De Er Hao had been given a fright when he first heard of this name. Now that he thought about it, he realized that this person really was from the material plane, the Xia people's world. This was the Dongbu Shuang that he knew of. De Er Hao was immediately frightened to the point where his heart trembled. He was afraid that Dongbu Shuang would take revenge. Under this formless fear, he had actually managed to break through and become a stage 3 world deity. Even the Abyss Sovereign had heavily rewarded him. And then, suddenly, a gigantic palm appeared within the hall. This palm was surrounded by a black aura, and it directly slapped at De Hao. De Hao's expression changed greatly. This gigantic palm filled with black aura caused him to feel fear. He hurriedly shouted, "Spare me!" At the same time, he hurriedly dodged, the surging aura around his body causing the surrounding succubus and illusion demons to directly shatter. This was the might of a stage 3 world deity. Even the slightest ripple could kill an ordinary demonic god. But De Hao had only managed to flee 10 meters before he was struck by that gigantic palm. Pang! De Hao did not have the slightest ability to resist the overwhelming power. His body instantly exploded, his true deity heart destroyed, and even the armor he wore was twisted into tatters. One had to know that Dongbu Shuaying's strength could cause even powerful existences to pale. The reason he could possess the power of a powerful existence was because of his strength and speed. Within a stone house just 5,000 kilometers away from this hall, De Hao's true body was currently cultivating. He had also become a stage 3 world deity not too long ago. Not good. De Hao's clone was instantly destroyed. De Hao's true body immediately tried to flee. "You still want to flee?" A calm voice suddenly rang out, causing De Hao's heart to instantly turn cold. He looked in horror at the crimson-robed man who had appeared in front of the stone house. This man was wearing a mask and had 2 spiral horns on his head. The aura he emitted was even more terrifying. The destruction of his clone earlier made him realize just how great the gap between them was. Without hesitation, De Hao knelt down and begged, "Spare me. Spare me. Your honor, please spare my life, I am willing to serve your honor." At the same time, he immediately transmitted a message to his master, Your Majesty, there's a powerful existence who wants to kill me and has already destroyed one of my clones. Your Majesty, save me, save me." And then, the golden-armored figure who was sitting cross-legged beside a river of lava suddenly opened his eyes, which were filled with anger. "This layer of the abyss world is my territory. Who dares to come to my territory and kill my subordinates without even informing me?" As the Abyss Sovereign, he naturally had the face of a sovereign. Moreover, after becoming a stage 3 world deity, De Hao could be considered an extremely important subordinate to him. He only had a few dozen stage 3 world deities under him. "I want to see just who dares to be so arrogant." The golden-armored man's eyes were filled with anger, but it disappeared in an instant. Dongbu Shuang looked at the kneeling De Hao in front of him with complicated emotions. After all, this was an existence who had founded the demonic faction in the Xia people's world. His shadow had once shrouded the Xia people's world for tens of millions of years, and now, his true body was kneeling in front of him. Dongbu Shuang did not find it strange that De Hao was kneeling and begging for mercy. There were many battles and killings in the dark abyss, and it was very common for the weaker side to submit to the stronger side. "Spare my life, and I can still serve the great demon god," De Hao said. Dongbu Shuang looked at the scaled face of the great demon god and frowned. Hong! A golden-armored figure appeared beside him. "Your Majesty!" De Hao hurriedly shouted. A layer of the abyss world was only a few trillion kilometers in size, and to a stage 4 world deity, it was something that could be reached in an instant. And then, Dongbu Shuang frowned, and his gaze swept across the golden-armored figure. The golden-armored man looked at Dongbu Shuang and was about to say a few words in anger, but when he saw the crimson robe on Dongbu Shuaying's body, his expression changed. "This robe? Bloodshed Tavern Master?" Those who could become the Tavern Master of the Bloodshed Tavern were all personally bestowed with this robe by the Bloodshed God himself. Every single one of them had the combat power of a powerful existence at the very least. How could a stage 4 world deity like him provoke a powerful existence with the combat power of a powerful existence? What's more, the Bloodshed Tavern masters were all assassins, and assassins usually carried out sneak attacks. How could they possibly notify anyone? Ah, this tavern master, you are currently on a mission. The golden-armored man hurriedly squeezed out a smile. I won't disturb you any longer, I won't disturb you any longer. After saying that, he immediately turned around and disappeared with a whoosh. Your Majesty, Your Majesty! De Airhouse eyes widened, and he hurriedly shouted with all his might. Chapter 579. When de Airhouse saw the Abyss Monarch leaving in such a sorry state, and especially when he heard the words Tavern Master, you are carrying out a mission, even though de Airhouse's knowledge was relatively weaker, he was still certain that only a powerful existence would be able to force the Abyss Monarch to flee in such a sorry state. Coupled with the words Tavern Master and mission, it was only natural for him to make a guess. Bloodshed Tavern Master level assassin? How is this possible? A dojo master assassin is actually here to deal with me? De Airhouse's heart was filled with fear. A dojo master was only second to the chief dojo master. Head dojo master, that was the #1 assassin in the deity realm and abyss, the Blood Blade. But to be able to force His Majesty to flee, one must indeed be at the level of a dojo master. Who was the one who issued the mission to deal with me? They even sent the Bloodshed Tavern Master to deal with me. De Airhouse felt despair and unwillingness. The difference in strength was too great. It was only natural for him to feel despair. Dongbua Shuang looked at him and asked, De Airhouse. Dojo Master, Dojo Master. De Airhouse knelt on the ground respectfully. Tens of thousands of years ago, you should have captured the soul of a transcendent called Qi Qiu Bai, right? Dongbua Shuang continued, and his wife's soul. Let me ask you, where are their souls? The reason why he asked, it was Dongbua Shuang's world domain that covered the entire area, but he couldn't find Changfeng's soul, which was why he kept De Airhouse alive and didn't eliminate him immediately. De Airhouse was stunned. Qi Qiu Bai. You wouldn't have forgotten, right? Dongbua Shuang said coldly. De Airhouse glanced at the Bloodshed Tavern Master standing in front of him. The Tavern Master stood there coldly, wearing a dark red robe and a mask. The Tavern Master had a pair of spiral horns on his head, and he exuded a sinister aura of darkness and destruction. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible to disguise one's life aura. De Airhouse didn't know that the robes of the Bloodshed Tavern Masters had such a disguising effect. He made up his mind and asked, is the dojo master invited by Dongbua Shuang? Dongbua Shuang frowned, I'm the one asking you. De Airhouse calmed down. The person in front of him was exuding a dark, destructive aura, so he should be some great expert of the dark abyss. From his point of view, although Dongbua Shuang was extremely talented, it was said that when he was at the third heaven, his battle prowess was only comparable to that of the fourth heaven. He did not think that Dongbua Shuang could become the Bloodshed Dojo Master, nor did he think that Dongbua Shuang could disguise his life aura. However, he believed that Dongbua Shuang had great potential. Furthermore, he was the direct disciple of the Blood Blade Dojo. There was hope for him to invite a Blood Blade Dojo Master to help him. Dojo Master, if you want to kill me, it will be as easy as pinching a bug to death. De Airhouse chuckled. As far as I know, Dongbua Shuang is also a person who values friendship and loyalty. No matter how I think about it, among all the enemies I've offended, only he would be able to invite an existence like you, dojo head. If I tell the dojo master directly, I'm afraid he'll kill me with a flip of his hand. N. Dongbua Shuang let out a low snort, his voice filled with killing intent. Hee, dojo head, don't scare me. De Airhouse actually stood up. If you want to kill me, go ahead. If you want to know Qi Qiu Bai's whereabouts, dojo head will have to swear an oath with the will of the abyss as a witness. The will of the abyss was a terrifying threat to all life forms in the dark abyss. Even experts from the deity realm and the material world would not dare to swear an oath with the will of the abyss as a witness if they were in the dark abyss. Because if they broke the oath, the will of the abyss would be the most terrifying existence in the dark abyss. If I don't swear an oath, you won't get anything even if you kill me. The corners of De Erhao's mouth curled upwards. Pang! Dongbo Shuang abruptly slapped out with his right hand. A terrifying force swept towards De Erhao's great demon god body like a tsunami. However, the luminous sun force also seeped into De Erhao's body, protecting his true deity heart. In an instant, it was forcefully sealed. The body was destroyed. In his right hand, Dongbo Shuang grabbed a tiny true deity heart De Erhao. Looking down at the tiny De Erhao in his palm, Dongbo Shuaying's eyes turned cold. Idiot, you dare to provoke me? I heard that Qi Qiu Bai is only a transcendent, not even a deity. To me, resurrecting him from the river of time isn't a difficult task. You actually dare to use this to threaten me, forcing me to swear an oath? Do you know the price of angering me? De Erhao's heart trembled in fear, but he still couldn't help but say, resurrecting from the river of time. But you don't know Qi Qiu Bai. You can't. Even if I can't, there are others who can. At most, I'll just have His Highness Dongbo send a world deity clone over. Dongbo Shuang said. At most, it will be a little troublesome. Tell me, where is Qi Qiu Bai's soul? I won't say it. You should know that there are many things more terrifying than death. De Erhao naturally knew. In the dark abyss, there were too many ways to torture a soul. I'll give you a breath's worth of time. After a breath's worth of time, your answer will be useless, Dongbo Shuang said indifferently. De Erhao's heart was filled with despair, unwillingness, and fear. But as a demon who had been born in the dark abyss since young, he understood that he was doomed this time. I'll speak, I'll speak. De Erhao lowered his head. I hope that dojo master will grant me death. Speak, Dongbo Shuang said coldly. De Erhao lowered his head and said, Qi Qiu Bai's will is extremely powerful, and he has been holding on for a long time. 30,000 years ago, the Howling Devil cult leader went around searching for souls with strong wills. The stronger the will, the better. I also sent a batch of souls in exchange for some benefits, and Qi Qiu Bai's soul was among them. As for what happened after that, I don't know. Howling Devil cult leader? Dongbo Shuang asked, then what about the soul of Qi Qiu Bai's wife? His wife's will was relatively ordinary, and I tortured her to death, De Erhao said calmly. I've said everything that needs to be said. I hope that dojo master will keep his promise. Of course. Dongbo Shuang said. Actually, you've guessed wrongly about my identity, Dongbo Shuaying's voice transmitted into De Erhao's true deity heart. De Erhao was stunned. Guessed wrongly? Not invited by Dongbo Shuang. Then who was it? No matter how he thought about it, only Dongbo Shuang would be able to invite such a powerful existence. Furthermore, he was here to search for the souls of Qi Qiu Bai and his wife. But he was still wrong. Could it be, De Erhao thought of a possibility. Pang! Dongbo Shuang clenched his right hand and crushed De Erhao's true deity heart. Regardless of whether De Erhao had thought of this or not, Dongbo Shuang did not care. After all, De Erhao's true deity heart was sealed, and he could not send any messages out. However, Dongbo Shuang still gave him a final warning. He was angry for Big Brother Eternal Wind and the others. He was angry for the generations of transcendents and mortals of the Xia people who had died because of the demonic faction. Because the demonic faction worshipped the great demon god of the dark abyss, they were unscrupulous in their actions. Throughout the history of the Xia people, countless transcendents and even gods desired to destroy the demonic faction. It was only after he became the lord of the material world that Dongbo Shuang wiped out all the remnants of the demonic faction in the Xia people. The Howling Devil cult leader. Dongbo Shuang raised his head and looked into the distance. Then, he took a step forward. De Erhao had truly lost his life. At the same time, Dongbo Shuang had first issued a mission to kill De Erhao through the internal system of the Bloodshed Tavern. But soon after, he had accepted the mission himself. He had issued it himself, and he had accepted it himself. This could also be considered as bringing this matter to a clean conclusion. As for whether or not his identity would be exposed, there was no need to worry about that. The operating rules of the Bloodshed Tavern never investigated the identity of the customers who issued the mission, and never investigated the identity of the assassins who accepted the mission. Many of the assassins in the Bloodshed Tavern kept their identities a secret. They only had a simple code name. Of course, if they were to expose themselves, they could not blame anyone else. In fact, an assassin could even purposely use 8 or 10 code names just to hide their identity. This was the first time Dongbu Shuang had become an assassin. Thus, he gave himself a code name, Flying Dagger. Chapter 580. In a dark hall, the Howling Devil cult leader, who was draped in a black robe, was sitting comfortably on a throne made of bones. There were countless palm-sized human and animal skeletons on the throne, all of them emitting a luster. The Howling Devil cult leader sat there, his fair fingers lightly tapping on the throne's armrest, emitting dong-dong-dong sounds that reverberated throughout the silent hall. Come. Come again. The Howling Devil cult leader finally gathered his emotions. Sitting properly on the throne, he began to execute the secret technique. Immediately, a pained expression appeared on his face, which was covered in fine scales. His face contorted, and at the same time, phantoms began to emerge from his black robe. These phantoms were men, women, demons, and strange beasts. All of these phantoms let out soundless screams, and the shockwaves of their screams reverberated throughout the hall, causing the space within the hall to distort. His black robes began to bulge, swirl, and even the shape of a head began to appear. Ah ah ah! The Howling Devil cult leader howled. Pain, this secret technique was truly painful to cultivate. You want to refine us? Die. You can't do it. Die. I'll use my life to curse you. Die. A total of 9 illusory figures appeared around the Howling Devil cult leader, all of them howling malevolently. One of them was the white-haired man, Qiu Qibai. Qiu Qibai was still clear-headed, but his heart was filled with rage and killing intent. Amidst the struggle of millions upon millions of souls and wills, he had survived until now, becoming one of the 9 strongest wills. He, with just you lot. The Howling Devil cult leader let out an ear-piercing laugh. You weaklings want to threaten this cult leader? He, it won't be long before I refine all of you into my body. My blood demon body will truly be complete, and at that time, The Howling Devil cult leader could not help but let out a pained cry. The blood demon scripture is truly worthy of being a legendary absolute art. Cultivating it is truly painful. The Howling Devil cult leader's eyes were filled with madness. To be able to reach stage 4 world deity in a place like the Dark Abyss, which of them was not a madman? Their wills were all extraordinary. You will die. He will definitely die. Qi Qiu Bai and the other 8 wills were filled with hatred towards the Howling Devil cult leader. The pain and suffering they had gone through for the past 30,000 years was something they did not want to recall. He. Although the Howling Devil cult leader was in great pain, his heart was filled with excitement. This was because he cultivated the blood demon scripture. Of course, he only obtained the first volume. In the Dark Abyss, only the second half of the blood demon scripture had appeared, and it had been obtained by the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. However, the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was an extremely talented individual. He actually created an absolute art based on the second half of the blood demon scripture. He even became a venerable because of this and became a notorious existence in the entire Dark Abyss. Because of this, the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was known as the existence closest to a ruler in the entire Dark Abyss. Because just the second half alone allowed the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction to create his own ultimate art and achieve so much. Although it was mainly due to the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction's innate talent, it also made the blood demon scripture extremely famous. In order to find the hope of transcending, I ventured into many dangerous places to explore. Who would have thought that I would actually find the legendary first half of the Blood Demon scripture? Although it's just the first half, it's just enough for those below the true God level to cultivate. The Howling Devil cult leader was very happy. More importantly, the first half can be used to cultivate, unlike the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. This is the true Blood Demon body. But cultivating it is really difficult. The Howling Devil cult leader thought to himself. Just cultivating the Blood Demon body was extremely difficult. The Howling Devil cult leader had cultivated for 30,000 years and had reached the final step. Out of billions of ghosts, only 9 were left with the strongest will. As long as he succeeded, he would truly be able to cultivate it. The Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction created his own ultimate art. It only has the tyrannical evil of the Blood Demon body, but it lacks the undying methods of the Blood Demon body. The Howling Devil cult leader thought to himself, although his innate talent is extremely high, the ultimate art he created is still lacking compared to the ancient Blood Demon scripture. If I can become a powerful being, just the first half of the Blood Demon scripture will be enough for me to move unhindered among true gods. When the time comes, I'll think of a way to obtain the second half of the inheritance from the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction and combine them into one. The Howling Devil cult leader was looking forward to it. He did not dare to look for the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction now. Moreover, the first half was enough. The second half was the cultivation content after becoming a true god. Ah! The Howling Devil cult leader stopped. Qiu Qi and the other 8 phantoms were quickly absorbed into his body. His exposed face and the scaly skin on his hands were already tattered, revealing his bones. Clearly, this cultivation was not an ordinary pain. Almost there. If everything goes smoothly, I should be able to succeed in another 30,000 years. The Howling Devil cult leader thought to himself. He knew that this last step was also the most difficult. According to the Blood Demon scripture, he had to be extremely careful. If he was too hasty, his true deity heart might be swallowed up by the 9 great wills. Although this would only result in the death of one of his clones, the countless ghosts and materials he had collected would be wasted, and he would have to start all over again. Moreover, under normal circumstances, the first time was the easiest to succeed. The chances of succeeding a second time were very low. In the records of the Blood Demon scripture, no one had ever succeeded after the 3rd time. The black ship sailed through the dark abyss, moving deeper and deeper into the world. Dongbua Shuang stood at the bow of the ship, using the ring on his finger to communicate through the internal system of the Bloodshed Tavern. I want information on the Howling Devil cult leader, especially the location of his true body and clone. Hua! Immediately, a large amount of information was transmitted over. He is a stage 4 world deity, the sovereign of the 37th level of the Dark Abyss. The surrounding area is isolated from probing, and there is temporarily no information on the location of his true body or clone, the Bloodshed Tavern replied. Is it possible to investigate? Dongbua Shuang transmitted. The Bloodshed Tavern also sold information. We need to invite a cultivator proficient in the Tao of Karma to investigate. The price is 10 million contribution points or 100 million deity crystals, the Bloodshed Tavern transmitted. Alright. As the Bloodshed Tavern master, Dongbua Shuang received a salary every 100 million years. Naturally, it was more worth it to use contribution points. Just like how the Nine-Yang Palace head had tried to track down Monarch Imo Shua, only someone who knew the Howling Devil cult leader and was proficient in the Tao of Karma would be able to track him down. After more than half an hour. Only then did the Bloodshed Tavern send a message: the Howling Devil cult leader has 2 bodies. One is in his lair, the Skeleton Sea, while the other is exploring the ruins of the Dark Abyss, the 3 Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Chapter 581. What? Dongbua Shuang furrowed his brows. The other one is at the 3 Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. The 3 Chieftains' Sacred Mountain was located in the 40th level of the Abyss. In terms of danger, it was naturally not as dangerous as Lake Heart Island. However, since it was able to survive from the Great Apocalypse, it could not be underestimated. Entering the ruins to find his avatar is too difficult. I'm not proficient in the Tao of Karma, so there's no way I can track him in the ruins. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. Looks like I can only go to his lair and ask him. South, standing at the bow of the stellar field flying ship, the ship once again passed through the spacetime tunnel and headed deeper into the abyss. Although Dongbo Shuang had never seen the Howling Devil cult leader before, he already felt a faint hostility towards him. This was because the Howling Devil cult leader was collecting countless souls. Under normal circumstances, he would use them to cultivate some kind of evil secret technique. If that was the case, then Big Brother Chi Chio Bai's fate would be very tragic. I hope Big Brother Eternal Wind is still alive. I hope my guess is wrong, Dongbo Shuang thought to himself. Very soon, they arrived at the 37th level of the abyss. This was a vast and boundless world. The cold wind howled like knives, and under such a strong gale, weaker demons would be torn to shreds. This was the core region of the abyss, and also the center of power. There were countless skeletons here, and amidst the sea of skeletons, there was a majestic palace that emitted a light that faintly illuminated the entire sea of skeletons. I heard that this Howling Devil cult leader is crazy. He built his own cult and even built his palace on top of the sea of skeletons. Dongbo Shuang kept the stellar field flying ship and stood above the sea of skeletons, looking at the palace not far away. There are many strange people in the deity world, but I've never heard of anyone who built their palace on top of countless skeletons. Boom! Dongbo Shuaying's body released a dark aura of destruction. His formless will surged outwards like a shockwave that swept in all directions. The sea of skeletons, which was originally filled with the cries of countless vengeful spirits, suddenly became silent. Even the strong gale that was stirred up was completely silent. Within a radius of 10 million kilometers, it was completely silent. There was not the slightest wind or wave. At the center of this area was Dongbo Shuang, who was dressed in a dark red robe. Sect leader. Sect master. The fiend celestials on patrol immediately reported in horror when they saw him from afar. The Howling Devil cult leader was currently seated on a throne in a majestic and sinister hall made of skeletons. He was being served by a large group of succubi, but he suddenly frowned. He raised his head and looked through the doors of the hall to see a figure dressed in dark red robes a mere 10 million li away. The Howling Devil cult leader immediately recognized the figure, especially the robes, and his expression changed slightly. In the deity world and abyss, the robes were personally refined by His Majesty Blood Blade. Only the Blood Blade Tavern Masters wore them. They were very special and easy to recognize. Of course, if one deliberately hid the uniqueness of the robe and others could not recognize it, then there was nothing they could do. However, it was clear that most of the time, the Bloodshed Tavern Masters couldn't be bothered to hide the uniqueness of their robes. The Bloodshed Tavern Master. The Howling Devil cult leader bellowed, "All of you, scram!" As soon as he finished speaking. The Howling Devil cult leader had already turned into a strand of black fog, piercing through the obstruction of the void to arrive 5 million kilometers away in front of Shuang. That black fog condensed back into the Howling Devil cult leader, who politely bowed slightly. "Greetings, Bloodshed Tavern Master. I wonder what matter brings you to my Howling Devil Abyss world? If there is anything you need, just tell me. I will definitely do my best." "Howling Devil cult leader, I have indeed come for a matter," Dongbo Shuang said. "You collected countless souls 30,000 years ago, and one of them was obtained from De Hao. I need to take that soul away." The Howling Devil cult leader was shocked. Soul? He had collected countless souls to cultivate the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, and he had never dared to reveal it. Why would someone with the combat strength of a powerful existence ask about it? Could it be that someone suspected that he had obtained the Blood Demon scripture? The Howling Devil cult leader could not be blamed for thinking too much. The temptation of the first half of the Blood Demon scripture was too great. After all, it was an absolute art, and just the second half alone was enough to create the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction. The Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was an existence second only to the ruler of the Abyss. If he was exposed, the Howling Devil cult leader would definitely not be able to keep this treasure. Of course, he had already obtained the inheritance, but this treasure would naturally be kept on him. When he was strong enough, he could use it to trade. To let someone else inherit it, he would have to pay a huge price. Bloodshed Tavern Master, I collected countless souls back then. How would I know which one I obtained from De Air How? The Howling Devil cult leader shook his head. This soul is called Qiu Qi Bai. Dongbua Shuang said as he looked at the Howling Devil cult leader. The Howling Devil cult leader was shocked. Qiu Qi Bai. Of course he knew. This was one of the inconspicuous souls he had collected, and it was not even a deity. But in the battle of pure wills, one of the 9 great wills that were born was this Qiu Qi Bai. Because he had been trying to refine the 9 great wills recently, he had also refined a portion of the 9 great wills' memory fragments. Thus, he had a basic understanding of Qiu Qi Bai. Although he was shocked, he did not reveal any flaws on his face. These souls, did you use them to cultivate secret techniques? Dongbua Shuang could not find any flaws, so he went straight to the point. Ha ha ha, in the dark abyss, using souls to cultivate secret techniques is a common thing. The Howling Devil cult leader laughed. Tavern Master, are you going to interfere with this as well? Dongbua Shuaying's eyes flashed with killing intent. The Howling Devil cult leader was shocked. What a terrifying will. Either you hand over this soul called Qiu Qi Bai, and if you can't identify it, then take out all the remaining souls you have collected and let me identify and filter them. Or I can only search them myself. Dongbua Shuang said coldly. I advise you to hand them over obediently. Search them himself? How could he let the Bloodshed Tavern Master search them? The main body he had left behind in his lair had the first half of the Blood Demon scripture. The moment he searched, he would be discovered. I really don't know what Qiu Qi Bai's soul is. The Howling Devil cult leader hurriedly said. Dongbua Shuang frowned. Oh, I once gave a batch of souls to a powerful being. The Howling Devil cult leader hurriedly said, I remember that De Air How gave me some souls. Yes, I remember correctly. An expert's memory was extremely clear. Swear an oath by the will of the Abyss that you did not lie. Dongbua Shuang said. Then I will let you go and find that powerful being. The Howling Devil cult leader was anxious. How could he give any powerful being? He had already used these souls for himself, and Qiu Qi Bai was now one of the 9 great wills. How could he dare to swear an oath to the Abyss? Tavern Master, don't go overboard. The Howling Devil cult leader was a little angry, but he was also anxious in his heart. He was very clear that the experts of the Dark Abyss did not care about reason. But because he had cultivated the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, even if he had not truly grasped the basics, the Howling Devil cult leader's mentality had changed. In his opinion, as long as he was given enough time, how could ordinary powerful existences be his match? If you don't want to make an oath, then you must be lying. Then, I'll search you myself. As Dongbua Shuang stood there, the void around him started to distort as figures appeared one after another. There was a total of 9 doppelgangers, each of them wearing a black armor. This black armor was the Extreme Annihilation mystic body, and they exuded a destructive and evil aura at the same time. The world doppelganger was ever-changing. Anything could be transformed, even weapons could be transformed. Luminous Sun Force and Extreme Annihilation mysterious body could be transformed. Naturally, it was even easier for him to transform the destructive aura of darkness. The 9 clones completely surrounded the Howling Devil cult leader. Chapter 582. Stop, 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 don't attack. The Howling Devil cult leader shouted. What else do you have to say? Dongbua Shui Ying's true body and the 9 clones surrounding the Howling Devil cult leader were all ready to attack at any time. The Howling Devil cult leader said, "If I'm not wrong, Tavern Master, you should have been invited here by His Highness Dongbua Shuang, right?" "How did you know?" Dongbua Shuang asked with a frown. "Ha ha ha." The Howling Devil cult leader did not answer this question. Because he had refined a portion of the memories of the 9 great consciousnesses, he knew some simple information from Qi Qiu Bai's memories. He knew that there was an extremely famous character in Qi Qiu Bai's hometown, the Xia people's world, Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shui Ying's fame was too great and had spread throughout the deity world and the abyss. His information was not a secret. He was born in the material world, the Xia people's world. After a brief comparison, the Howling Devil cult leader was able to deduce that Qiu Qibai was a transcendent from the material world. No matter how he thought about it, only someone like Shuang could possibly ask someone to save him. "It seems that you know quite a bit about Qi Qiu Bai." Dongbua Shui Ying's voice was cold. "Tavern Master, His Highness Dongbua Shuang is ultimately from the deity world. Why must Tavern Master make things difficult for me for the sake of someone from the deity world?" The Howling Devil cult leader said. "Truthfully, Tavern Master has probably guessed it. This Qi Qiu Bai's soul has long been used up by my secret technique. I have no way of taking it out. Even if you kill me, there's nothing I can do. Tavern Master, please show mercy. I, the Howling Devil cult leader, will definitely do my best to compensate Tavern Master." "He's already dead." Dongbua Shuang was furious. "Yes." The Howling Devil cult leader nodded. "Swear an oath and confirm that his soul has already dissipated. When the time comes, I will think of a way to revive him from the river of time." Dongbua Shuang said. If he couldn't do it himself, he could ask for help. The stronger the person being revived was, the greater the price they had to pay. Eternal Wind was just a transcendent, and it was easy to revive him. With Dongbua Shui Ying's influence, it was easy for him to do so. "This." The Howling Devil cult leader hesitated. "Swear an oath." Strictly speaking, Qi Qiu Bai was not truly dead. "You don't want to swear an oath? Are you lying?" Dongbua Shuang no longer hesitated. One moment, this Howling Devil cult leader said that he had given it to another powerful existence, and the next moment, he said that he was dead. Yet, he refused to swear an oath. "Looks like I can only take action." Boom boom boom. The 9 world avatars waved their poles at the same time. For the sake of concealing his identity, Shuang did not use his spear. Instead, he used his pole. In fact, there were many similarities between the rod and the spear. "Not good." The Howling Devil cult leader's expression changed. "Damn it, this bloodshed Tavern Master is clearly from the dark abyss, but for the sake of His Highness Dongbua, he showed no mercy to me." The 9 rods were like 9 heavenly pillars that supported the world. In an instant, the world around them distorted and shattered, as if the universe was about to be destroyed. Everything began to shatter and turn into particles. Each of the world bodies had the luminous sun force and the extreme annihilation mysterious body, so their strength was not inferior to the main body. Each of them was ridiculously strong, and just their strength alone had the effect of great destruction. Facing this overwhelming attack, the Howling Devil cult leader was shocked and furious. This power was too ferocious. At this moment, he could not care less about hiding his strength and completely erupted. Peng, under the cover of the 9 rods, the Howling Devil cult leader even felt a trace of despair, but he still gave it his all. His body began to distort and turn into a blurry blood shadow. Although his body transformation had not truly succeeded, it was already at the final step, and his body was already very different from an ordinary person. On the blood shadow, there were also 9 powerful vengeful spirits howling. Some were male, some were female, some were human, some were beast, some were young, some were old, and all 9 of them were filled with monstrous hatred. This. Dongbua Shuang was greatly shocked. Among the 9 figures filled with monstrous hatred, there was a white-haired man. It was the big brother that he was incomparably familiar with, the eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qibai, who had guided him into the transcendent world. However, at this moment, he was no longer as unruly as before, nor was he as sad as before. Instead, he was like a crazed demon, filled with monstrous hatred as he struggled, pouncing at the blood shadow time and time again. Just what kind of experience had he gone through to make him so resentful and crazy? In an instant, Dongbo Shuiying's killing intent towards the Howling Devil cult leader soared. Moreover, he immediately understood that Qiu Qibai and the other 8 were in a strange symbiotic state with the Howling Devil cult leader. His big brother Eternal Wind could no longer escape and return to normal. There was only one way to save him: kill the Howling Devil cult leader and revive him from the River of Time. Otherwise, if he did not kill the Howling Devil cult leader, Qiu Qibai would not be able to revive in such a strange state. Peng peng peng. Although there were many thoughts in his mind, the might of the 9 rods did not decrease in the slightest. In fact, their killing intent was even stronger. Who? The blood-red silhouette forced his way out from the area of complete destruction with great difficulty. He was even struck by one of the staffs. The terrifying power caused his body to twist and tremble. Fortunately, his body had already begun to transform. Additionally, his cultivation level was high enough to negate most of the power, allowing him to stay alive. Emperor Qingming, save me, save me. As long as you save my life, I will agree to anything you ask of me. The Howling Devil cult leader immediately transmitted a message to a powerful existence of the Dark Abyss who was only 3 levels away. Die for me. This time, Dongbo Shuiying's true body and the 9 world clones attacked at the same time. 10 huge rods that could traverse the heavens and earth came attacking at the same time. Their might was just as terrifying as before, and their speed was also extremely fast. He actually did not suppress the surrounding spacetime? The Howling Devil cult leader thought to himself in despair. Although his realm was not as strong as Monarch Mo Shui and some other existences, he had long since grasped the spacetime deity heart. He was astonished to find that the surrounding spacetime was not suppressed. This was a mistake that ordinary powerful existences should not have made. His blood shadow immediately moved. Hua! He immediately tore through spacetime and began to flee. Flee! Dongbo Shuiying felt a headache coming on. His realm had a huge flaw, and although he was strong in direct combat, it was difficult to suppress techniques like the spacetime deity heart and the boundless deity heart. The boundless deity heart and the substance deity heart were both very difficult to grasp. Even stage 4 world deities would only be able to gradually comprehend them, and were still far from being able to grasp them. However, the spacetime deity heart was very common. This Howling Devil cult leader clearly grasped the spacetime deity heart as well. What? The expression of the Howling Devil cult leader, who was shuttling through the spacetime tunnel, suddenly changed. He turned his head to look. You won't be able to escape. Dongbo Shuiying was currently on his black starfield flying ship, which was much faster than him. Dongbo Shuiying, who was standing at the bow of the ship, opened his mouth, and a surge of faint violet flames rushed out like a fire dragon. This flame was a domain-type technique that covered an entire area. The Howling Devil cult leader had no way of dodging and was instantly enveloped. Ah! The Howling Devil cult leader howled in pain. It was truly painful. The 7th level of the 10 apocalyptic fire. Just this flame alone had the might of a powerful existence, and it caused the Howling Devil cult leader's blood shadow to sizzle. Not good, this flame is too terrifying. If this drags on for too long, my body will be burnt to ashes. It was not that the blood demon scripture was not powerful, but that the 10 apocalyptic fire was close to an absolute art, and the Howling Devil cult leader's body had yet to truly transform. Boom boom boom. At the same time the 10 apocalyptic fire was released, the 9 world bodies appeared, all of them brandishing their long rods as they surrounded the Howling Devil cult leader. The Howling Devil cult leader was being burned by the flames while facing the terrifying attacks of the long rods. His heart was filled with despair, and he could only try his best to escape. He originally thought that he was going to die. But under his desperate struggle, he actually managed to resist 2 waves of attacks. Something's not right. The Howling Devil cult leader immediately grew suspicious. This rod technique is ferocious, but in terms of the laws of profound mysteries, it seems to be even weaker than me. In fact, many of the rod techniques were dodged by me, and none of them were able to hit me. Even if they hit me, I focused on dispersing the force, and the majority of the impact was actually dissipated. How did I manage to survive until now? Also, he actually didn't seal spacetime. Could it be that even a powerful existence doesn't understand the spacetime deity heart? His strength is so great, but his rod techniques seem to be barely comparable to a newly advanced stage 4 world deity. Realms can't be faked, so his realm should be very ordinary. He might even be a newly advanced stage 4 world deity, or a very powerful stage 3 world deity. Is he only relying on some special method to have such combat power? The Howling Devil cult leader quickly made many deductions. He suddenly shouted, "You're not a powerful existence from the dark abyss. Are you Dongbu Shuang?" He could not think of anyone other than Dongbu Shuang who could have such a powerful combat power despite having such a low realm. He would even stand up for Qi Qiu Bai. Chapter 583. Shuang and his 9 world avatars were doing their best to surround and attack the Howling Devil cult leader. When they heard the Howling Devil cult leader shout out, "You are not a powerful existence from the dark abyss, but Dongbu Shuang," they were startled, but they soon calmed down. He had always been worried about being discovered, so he was very careful. He did not use the spear, but the staff. He did not even dare to use the blood-refined deity weapon, Scarlet Cloud Spear. But now, the other party had shouted it out. He had been exposed. Since he had been exposed, there was no point in regretting. Instead, he calmed down. So what if I'm exposed? At worst, I'll just have to go on a killing spree in the dark abyss. The killing intent in Dongbu Shuaying's eyes became more and more obvious. At the same time, the weapons in his 9 clones' hands changed from the staff to the spear. The real body also kept the staff and took out the blood-refined deity weapon, Scarlet Cloud Spear. Although using a staff to execute a spear technique was close, there were still many differences, and its power was still lacking. Dongbu Shuang, as long as you spare me, I will definitely not reveal it. The Howling Devil cult leader, who had turned into a blood-red shadow, anxiously shouted. When he saw Dongbu Shuang change his weapon, he knew that he was in deep trouble. Using the weapon he was most familiar with, his strength would definitely increase. If he was really killed, then all the time he had spent cultivating the blood demon scripture would be wasted. He would need to collect more precious materials and countless souls, and the difficulty of cultivating would increase. Moreover, the original copy of the first half of the blood demon scripture would fall into Dongbu Shuaying's hands. These losses were not what the Howling Devil cult leader was willing to accept. He recognized Dongbu Shuaying's identity, but due to the isolation of laws, the will of the abyss did not know Dongbu Shuaying's identity. Clearly, the Howling Devil cult leader did not want to shed all pretense of cordiality. I really have no intention of becoming enemies with your Highness Dongbu. The Howling Devil cult leader transmitted. Die. Dongbu Shuaying's killing intent was overflowing, and he showed no mercy. If he did not kill the Howling Devil cult leader, how could he revive Qi Qiu Bai who was in a symbiotic state with him? Even if you kill me, you won't be able to escape from the dark abyss. The Howling Devil cult leader was somewhat deranged. Rumble, the might of the 10 long spears, became even more ferocious and sharp, especially the blood-refined divine weapon, the Scarlet Cloud Spear, which was much more powerful. The Howling Devil cult leader almost instantly suffered another heavy injury. At the same time, the 10 apocalyptic flames continued to burn him, causing his injuries to worsen. He could feel death approaching. He is actually using a spear. Despite going all out, he still failed to finish him off in one wave of attacks. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself, my realm is still too lacking. His body had turned into a blood-colored shadow, and it was as though he had no form at all. Even my world prison was unable to restrain him, and only my formless flames could burn him. But even so, he was still able to survive until now despite being surrounded by 9 world deities. It seems like I'll have to become a stage 4 world deity to make up for this deficiency in my realm. The will of the abyss is unable to discover my true identity, but the Howling Devil cult leader has enough intelligence to discover the deficiency in my realm. From this, it won't be difficult for him to deduce my identity. These thoughts flashed through Dongbua Shuiying's mind, but his attacks did not decrease in the slightest. He continued to use the blood-refined divine weapon that he was familiar with, and his attacks became even more carefree. At this moment, Dongbua Shuiying sensed a space-time fluctuation that was trillions of kilometers away. It was a black-skinned demon. His body was only wrapped in a black rag, and the rest of his body was bare, including his hands and feet. His general appearance was very similar to the Lords of Ulan that Dongbua Shuiying had once met in the Xia people's world. This black-skinned demon had a smile on his face, and his voice was transmitted over directly. He had borrowed the power of karma to transmit his voice. This bloodshed tavern master, can you give me, Qingming, some face and let the Howling Devil go? If you kill him, you will only be killing a clone. Why bother? The voice reverberated in Dongbua Shuiying's mind. This monarch Qingming actually traveled through space-time and quickly rushed over. Monarch Qingming. The Howling Devil cult leader, who had transformed into a blood-colored shadow, was overjoyed. Save me, save me. Qingming. Dongbua Shuiying naturally knew. Monarch Qingming was a true god of the dark abyss. He was quite similar to the Howling Devil cult leader, and he also liked to spread his religion. There were no less than 5 layers of the abyss, and countless living beings believed in Monarch Qingming. Hua, the spear-wielding true body and the 9 clones quickly unleashed the second spear attack. This second spear attack was clearly stronger than the first wave of spear attacks, and the surrounding space began to distort. Something's wrong. The Howling Devil cult leader's complexion changed. He felt that the profoundness of Dongbua Shuiying's spear technique was increasing. Kill! The true body and the 9 clones simultaneously unleashed the third spear attack. Hong 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 hong, the 10 spears turned into 10 dazzling suns, and the ferocity of their power far surpassed that of the previous spear technique. Dongbua Shuiying, who originally possessed terrifying strength and speed, displayed such power at this moment that it made the Howling Devil cult leader feel despair from the bottom of his heart. This move was the strongest attack of Dongbua Shuiying's 3 great secret skills, annihilation. Back then, it was also by relying on this move that Dongbua Shuiying successfully passed the most basic screening of the Blazing Blood Door and became a guest of Lake Heart Island. Moreover, after being trapped in the Destruction Paradise for many years, he comprehended the 10 apocalyptic flame and pondered over other secret skills. The power of annihilation also gradually improved. At this moment, the profoundness of this move was no less than that of a veteran stage 4 world deity. Peng 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 peng, the surroundings were completely annihilated, and everything was shattered. The Howling Devil cult leader, who had transformed into a blood-colored shadow, was already seriously injured and on the verge of death under such power. Finally, he could no longer hold on, and under the endless dazzling light of the 10 suns, he completely disintegrated and died on the spot. Stop! Monarch Qingming angrily transmitted his voice. He had finally entered the range of his domain. Hong! Billions of black-skinned demons wrapped in rags appeared at the same time, covering both the sky and the ground. The vast forest below was in a complete mess, and a large circular crater with an area of no less than 1,000,000 kilometers had appeared. Dongbua Shuiying was standing in the air above this huge circular crater. You came late, Dongbua Shuiying said indifferently. It was slow to say. In fact, how fast was the battle between Dongbua Shuiying and the Howling Devil cult leader at this level? In the blink of an eye, they had already exchanged thousands of moves. Even when he used the spear technique annihilation, he had only used 3 spear techniques consecutively. Only when Dongbu Shuang killed the Howling Devil and collected all the treasures left behind by the Howling Devil did Monarch Qingming arrive. In the end, the Howling Devil was a peak stage 4 world deity, so Dongbu Shuang still had to accept his treasures. After all, asking an almighty being to resurrect eternal wind from the river of time would not be a small price. Why bother? He is just a clone, why must you insist on killing him? Monarch Qingming's countless bodies dissipated, leaving only his true body. Dongbu Shuang was already standing at the bow of the Starfield flying ship, indifferently saying, "Since I accepted the mission, I naturally have to kill him." "What, does Monarch Qingming want to stop me?" Saying this, he shot a glance at Monarch Qingming. Monarch Qingming smiled. For the sake of a dead Howling Devil, who had only lost a clone, he had to make an enemy of a bloodshed tavern master. How unwise. Moreover, he did not save the Howling Devil, so he was afraid that the Howling Devil would not fulfill his promise, so he had no reason to stop him. Most importantly, he only had the strength of an ordinary true god, so it would take some effort to kill the Howling Devil. Monarch Qingming had also seen the last move of the Bloodshed Tavern Master to kill the Howling Devil cult leader. At least in terms of pure tyranny, the Tavern Master was slightly better than him. It was just that the profound mysteries of the moves were slightly coarse. He was very clear that if he fought with the Bloodshed Tavern Master, he might not necessarily be able to gain the upper hand, so there was naturally no need to make a move. South Dongbu Shuang drove the Starfield flying ship, and under the watchful eyes of Monarch Qingming, directly tore open a space-time tunnel and quickly left. Inside the 3 chieftains' sacred mountain. Originally, the Howling Devil cult leader was lucky enough to obtain the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, so he sent a clone to infiltrate the 3 chieftains' sacred mountain. In a dark stone cave. The Howling Devil cult leader was sitting cross-legged here, his true body and clone's appearance were exactly the same. That damned Dongbu Shuang. The Howling Devil cult leader's heart was bleeding. His true body had been destroyed, so he had to start cultivating the Blood Demon scripture all over again. Even the original copy of the Blood Demon scripture was lost, so he did not believe that Dongbu Shuang would return it. Even if Dongbu Shuang was killed and the treasure fell into the hands of other experts of the abyss, no one would return it to him. Therefore, that treasure was not fated to be with him. I won't let you go. You can't escape from the dark abyss, you can't escape. The Howling Devil cult leader's heart was filled with hatred and killing intent. At the same time, he raised his head and said, "Great Will of the Abyss, the Bloodshed Tavern Master who killed my true body is the God World's Dongbu Shuang. He is not from the dark abyss, he is an outsider." His voice echoed. The Howling Devil cult leader also put away the treasure that blocked detection, allowing the Will of the Abyss to know everything. Although the Will of the Abyss only had the most basic instincts, it would always operate according to this most ancient instinct. Following that, the Howling Devil cult leader's consciousness directly penetrated into his communication treasure. Today's chapter was to sort out the following plot. Star. Chapter 584. I am the Howling Devil, a disciple of the deity world's Blood Blade, Dongbu Shuang. With his identity as the Blood Blade Tavern Master, he killed my true body in the 37th level of the Abyss and took away all my treasures. I once obtained the original copy of the first half of the Blood Demon scripture by chance. Now, it has fallen into the hands of Dongbu Shuang. He is currently being rejected by the Dark Abyss and is currently on the run. I swear to the Will of the Abyss that everything I've said is true. The Howling Devil cult leader immediately used his communication treasure to send messages to all the stage 4 world deities and powerful existences. As long as he knew them, he would send a message to all of them. Even if I can't obtain it, I won't let you have it. Let's see how you can escape. The Howling Devil cult leader was furious. Originally, his future was boundless. Once he succeeded in comprehending the Blood Demon scripture, his strength would rapidly increase, and he would be able to fight against powerful existences of a higher realm. He would even have the chance to become one of the strongest existences. But all of this had been destroyed by Dongbu Shuang. The effects of his first failure on his true deity heart made his chances of succeeding a second time even slimmer. As for the third time, it was recorded in the blood demon scripture that no one had ever succeeded a third time. With the guidance of the will of the abyss and the temptation of the blood demon scripture, I'm afraid not many powerful existences can resist it. The Howling Devil cult leader was previously worried that just the rejection from the will of the abyss would cause the experts of the abyss to act, but they would not go all out. It was even possible that those who were on good terms with Dongbu Shuang would secretly go easy on him. But with the original copy of the blood demon scripture, things were completely different. Who? Stepping on the Starfield flying ship, Dongbu Shuang passed through the spacetime tunnel and arrived at the 38th level of the abyss. As soon as he entered this level, Dongbu Shuang could feel the rejection and killing intent from the will of the abyss. Clearly, the will of the abyss had already treated him as an enemy. Fortunately, the will of the abyss will not easily act. Dongbu Shuang thought. The will of the abyss would only bestow a terrifying punishment upon them if they made an oath. Under normal circumstances, even if he took the risk to barge in, the will of the abyss would only repel him and guide the powerful beings of the abyss to kill him. Clearly, the will of the abyss had a way to survive. If he were to fight head-on, Dongbu Shuang reckoned that only someone at his teacher's level would be able to withstand the will of the abyss. Someone from the God world dares to come to my dark abyss? A cold voice resounded. An invisible force instantly spread out, covering this layer of the abyssal world. At the same time, a total of 9 figures appeared in front of Dongbu Shuang's Starfield flying ship. All of them were skinny old men. These 9 skinny old men each carried a thin sword on their back, surrounding Dongbu Shuang. His control over the world is incredible. Dongbu Shuang was taken aback. This old man was the Abyss Sovereign of the 38th level. He was called the Monarch of Sword World. He looked like an old man, but in reality, he had only cultivated for 1 billion years or so. He was still very young, but his attainments in the aspect of world were extremely profound. One must know that Dongbu Shuang's attainments in the aspect of world were already very profound. He mainly focused on the world deity heart, fusing it with the chaotic deity heart, extremity deity heart, and many years of comprehension. It could be said that ordinary stage 4 world deities, if they did not deliberately study the world deity heart, their attainments in the aspect of world would not be comparable to Dongbu Shuang. But this sovereign of the sword world was obviously different. His control over the world is actually able to mobilize the entire abyssal world within a range of trillions of kilometers. Dongbu Shuang was inwardly speechless. One's attainments in the aspect of world could be seen from the range of the world energy he could mobilize. Currently, he could only mobilize it within a range of trillions of kilometers. The gap between them could be imagined. You dare to block me? Dongbu Shuang was filled with killing intent. The Starfield flying ship beneath his feet did not slow down at all. I might not be a match for the dojo master, but as long as I can block him, I will be rewarded by the will of the abyss. The 9 thin and small old men laughed. At the same time, they pulled out the thin swords on their backs and attacked. Dongbu Shuang also felt that it was strange. In the past, he was the one ganging up on others, but this time, he was the one being ganged up on. However, the world clone was actually condensed by borrowing the power of the world. In that case, it would be a competition of their control over the power of the world. Dongbu Shuang was stronger than the Howling Devil cult leader in the aspect of world, which was why he was able to condense a world clone. But now, the thin and small old man had complete control over the entire abyssal world. Dongbu Shuang had no way of seizing control over the power of the world, so he naturally could not condense a world clone. However, I do not need a clone. Dongbu Shuang stood at the bow of the Starfield flying ship. The scarlet cloud spear in his hand instantly swept through the world, bringing with it a boundless might. Hong Long Long, it was too ferocious. Using the blood-refined deity weapon, he completely erupted with his strongest might. A terrifying strength that even powerful existences would be wary of was displayed through the spear. The space in front of him was completely shattered, as though it had fallen into an apocalypse. The expression of the Sword Realm's sovereign, who wanted to block the attack, also changed. How tyrannical! Peng, 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 the spear swept across, and in an instant, 6 world clones exploded. But at the same time, another world clone was condensed at another location. In my abyssal world, even powerful existences cannot touch me. The thin and small old man was still very confident. South, the Starfield flying ship pierced through the spacetime tunnel and advanced forcefully. The world clone could appear with a single thought and chase after the Starfield flying ship. As long as they did not escape from the abyssal world, they would be within the range of the thin and small old man's attacks. What a pity! It might be very difficult for Dongbush Shuang to kill the other party, but it was still very easy for him to escape. He barged around in a tyrannical manner. With a swing of the spear, everything was destroyed as easily as breaking dry weeds. Dongbush Shuang. The first half of the Blood Demon scripture. The thin and small old man was stunned. He and the Howling Devil cult leader were neighbors, so he had naturally received the message from the Howling Devil cult leader. The first half of the Blood Demon scripture. The Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction relied on the second half of the Blood Demon scripture to become second only to sovereigns. The thin and small old man's eyes were filled with fanaticism. If I can obtain it, my combat strength will skyrocket. In the future, when I become a powerful existence, my strength will also be extraordinary. I might not be a match for this Dongbush Shuang, but there will definitely be many experts surrounding him. With my attainments in the world clone technique, perhaps I might have a chance to try my luck. For the sake of the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, the thin and small old man's true body, which was hidden in his lair, had also begun to set out. This true body carried a blood-refined deity weapon, and its combat strength was even greater. I'll stake it all. An absolute art. Moreover, it was the famous absolute art, the first half of the Blood Demon scripture. Who wouldn't go crazy over it? Even someone as talented as Dongbush Shuang had only obtained an absolute art after becoming a personal disciple of the Blood Blade. After that, he had experienced an extremely difficult trial and joined the army of destruction before obtaining another absolute art. In the entire deity world and abyss, only Dongbush Shuang and Pang Yi had successfully joined the army of destruction. A single absolute art was enough to make countless experts go crazy over it. What? In the 37th layer of the abyss, Imperial Emperor Qingming, who had just let Dongbush Shuang go, had a change in his expression. The first half of the Blood Demon scripture. Howling Demon, why didn't you say so earlier? Imperial Emperor Qingming's eyes immediately revealed anger and unwillingness. If he really went all out with his strength, especially since his realm was far higher than Dongbush Shuang's, he could definitely hold him back. That Blood Blade Tavern Master is Dongbush Shuang. His realm is much lower than mine. I have a chance to obtain the Blood Demon scripture. Chase! Imperial Emperor Qingming's eyes were filled with madness. No matter how calm he looked on the surface, as a life form in the dark abyss, he had grown step by step from an ordinary little devil to a true god. At this crucial moment, he had to stake it all. Blood Demon scripture. The first half of the Blood Demon scripture has also appeared. It's actually in the hands of Dongbush Shuang from the deity world. The entire dark abyss was immediately informed by a large group of experts. Moreover, because the news had spread too far, those who were too far away from the 37th layer of the abyss, or those who were adventuring in some places and could not participate in it, took the initiative to spread the news, informing their friends and the experts they relied on. Even more almighty existences knew about it. Almost in a short period of time, along with the news that the first half of the Blood Demon scripture had appeared, the name of Dongbush Shuang also spread rapidly throughout the deity world and the abyss. Chapter 585. The news spread too quickly. As the head tavern owner of Bloodshed Tavern, as well as Dongbush Shui Ying's master, His Majesty the Bloodshed God Emperor naturally received the news soon after. Within a secret underground hall, in front of the huge red furnace, Bloodblade was sitting cross-legged. His doppelganger technique was unparalleled in the deity world and abyss. He had a total of 3 bodies, including his main body. Although he went to the ancient cave abode left behind by the Lake Heart Island master, he only sent one of his doppelgangers. His main body remained here to observe the universe furnace. Perhaps to Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master and Monarch Guzong, the ancient cave abode was of great significance. But to Bloodblade, it was just a good opportunity. However, to take that final step, even if the Lake Heart Island master personally came and gave him pointers, it would be useless. Because at this step, pointers were useless. Chi, within the red universe furnace, flames burned and a hint of black energy could be seen. Bloodblade watched silently. Suddenly, he revealed a look of shock. Snow Eagle. The black bird on his shoulder that seemed to be in a deep sleep woke up and exclaimed, "Wah, Bloodblade, your disciple is really amazing. He just went to the dark abyss and he caused such a thing." Ha ha ha, every cultivator, as they become more and more talented, they will be loved by the universe. Naturally, luck will gather. Bloodshed God Emperor laughed. This represents an opportunity, but it is also a calamity. These calamities could possibly temper Shuang even more. Or he might have been crippled. God Emperor was happy to see this happen. After all, every single expert had walked this path. That time, he had experienced much more than what Shuang had experienced. He had experienced many more dangers before finally reaching his current stage. He was already faintly standing at the pinnacle. Blood Demon Scripture, that is one of the 6 great inheritances of the demon ancestor. The black bird was shocked. Yes. Bloodblade nodded. The demon ancestor is only second to the Lake Heart Island master in the many universe epics. Lake Heart Island master, he was ranked number 1 across the many universe epics. The fiend ancestor was second. He was the existence closest to the master of Lake Heart Island. The fiend ancestor's cultivation is even more chaotic. He is good at many things. On the other hand, the master of Lake Heart Island was pure. The two of them fought against each other, which also brought them to an extremely high level. The universe epic they were born in was also the strongest of all the universe epics. Bloodblade smiled. In comparison, my cultivation is rather messy. I'm more like the fiend ancestor. Although Bloodblade was aware of this, he was also watching. He understood that the path of cultivation required Dongbush Shuang to experience it himself. The more dazzling he was, the greater the test he had to bear. Either he succeeded, or he was crippled. The path of cultivation was like this. You had to experience setbacks time and time again, but you had to move forward boldly every time. In the first 50 layers of the Dark Abyss, there was only one paragon existence, White Sovereign King. After eating, I'll drink a cup or 2. How carefree. White Sovereign King was currently leisurely sitting on a bamboo chair. He held onto a bamboo flask, swaying back and forth as he drank a mouthful of wine. His expression was one of enjoyment. This layer of the Dark Abyss world was also clear, beautiful and peaceful. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. First half of the Blood Demon Scripture. That should be one of the 6 great inheritances of the fiend ancestor. To think that in our universe epic, both the first and second half have appeared. White Sovereign King's eyes lit up. At his level, forget about the first half. Even if the first and second half were placed together, it wouldn't be too tempting to him. After all, he had walked his own path, and could at most use it as a reference. Dongbush Shuang. This genius from the deity world is truly daring. The first 50 layers of the Dark Abyss world are my territory. If I let him bring the first half of the Blood Demon Scripture out of the Dark Abyss world, that would be too embarrassing for me. White Sovereign King stood up. Following which, his lips curled into a smile. Great extermination, do you want the first half of the blood demon scripture? White Sovereign King transmitted. The 199th layer of the Dark Abyss World. This layer of the Dark Abyss World was pierced through by a river. This river was completely black, and one couldn't see any debris. It was pure black. Just looking at it would cause one's heart to palpitate. This black river had even seeped into the next layer of the Dark Abyss World. At the bank of the river, seated cross-legged was a muscular man wearing purple armor. This muscular man had two black curved horns on his head. His exposed arms were thick and powerful, and there were faint traces of coiling dragons on them. Just by sitting there, he was emitting a tyrannical pressure that enveloped the entire layer of the Dark Abyss World. His tyrannical aura was too strong. Even if an ordinary true god entered this layer of the world, under this tyrannical aura, they would be forced to kneel. To make a true god kneel, even if ordinary people could do it, they wouldn't do it. But Heavenly Emperor of Great Extermination had done it. His tyranny, his rudeness, was well known. Great Extermination, do you want the first half of the blood demon scripture? White Sovereign King transmitted over. I don't even care about the second half of the blood demon scripture, much less the first half. You can keep it for yourself. Heavenly Emperor of Great Extermination opened his eyes. His purple pupils were surging with lightning as he snorted in disdain. The first and second half combined is one of the 6 great inheritances of Ancestor Devil. White Sovereign King continued to tempt him. I've already stepped out of the influence of the blood demon scripture, walking on a path that belongs to me. Heavenly Emperor of Great Extermination coldly said. Since you aren't affected, don't tell me you don't dare to take a look at the complete inheritance? White Sovereign King continued. Are you afraid? Afraid that the influence will be too great? Afraid? Old White Ghost, don't you want to obtain the second half of the blood demon scripture from me and use it as a reference? Heavenly Emperor of Great Extermination sneered, fine, if you have it, you must first obtain the first half of the blood demon scripture. At that time, we can exchange the inheritance. All right. White Sovereign King laughed. White Sovereign King stood in front of the bamboo chair and directly used karma to transmit an order to the sovereigns of the first 50 layers, pass down my order. Join hands to deal with Dongbu Shuang. After obtaining the first half of the blood demon scripture, I will bestow upon those who have contributed greatly. Yes. 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 White Sovereign King's deterrence was too great. With a single order, none of the Abyss Sovereigns dared to have any other thoughts. If they did not listen to White Sovereign King's orders, even if they obtained the first half of the blood demon scripture, they would not be able to enjoy it. What's going on? Why did this Sovereign of Sword World suddenly go crazy and obstruct me? Even his true body has moved. Dongbu Shuang stepped on the Starfield flying ship, easily blocking the attacks of Sovereign of Sword World as he traveled through the time-space tunnel. The true body of Sovereign of Sword World was very crafty. He could easily switch bodies, making it hard to kill him. But fortunately, the difference in strength was not small. Dongbu Shuang was easily suppressed. Hong. The Starfield flying ship finally reached the 39th layer of the Abyss World. The moment he arrived, Dongbu Shuang's expression changed. He could sense 3 powerful energies in this layer of the Abyss World. One of them was already here, while the other 2 were entering through the time-space tunnel. Dongbu Shuang. One executed the boundless body, causing countless figures to appear. It was an enchanting red-robed succubus. Her eyes were filled with desire. Hand over the blood demon scripture. South, the other was a towering mountain demon. The rocks on his body were glossy and glossy, looking more like metal. That mountain demon's aura was even stronger, and he was the only powerful existence among the 3. He growled, Dongbu Shuang, stop struggling. You can't escape. Your Highness Dongbu, it's better if you hand over the blood demon scripture. The other was an illusory figure formed from green fog. Dongbu Shuang, I've really been deceived by you. Hand over the blood demon scripture. A time-space fluctuation came from behind. Monarch Qingming, who was wrapped in rags, was also chasing through the time-space tunnel. That thin and small old man, sovereign of Sword World, was also using his world clones to tangle with them. Dongbu Shuang was in a daze. He had just charged into the 39th layer of the Abyss World while being entangled by Sovereign of Sword World. In just a short while, so many experts had surrounded him. Even Monarch Qingming had chased after him. Blood Demon Scripture, what Blood Demon Scripture? Dongbu Shuang was filled with bewilderment. At the same time, he received a transmission. It was from Paragon Huacheng. Brother Dongbua, I've just received news that you entered the Dark Abyss, killed a Stage 4 world deity, and obtained the first half of the Blood Demon Scripture. Paragon Huacheng's transmission was rather anxious. He was very concerned about Dongbu Shuang. However, he was currently in the ancient cave dwelling, and was unable to save him. Chapter 586. The moment Dongbu Shuang heard Paragon Huacheng's message, he immediately understood what was going on. Looking at the Sovereign of Sword World beside him, the three sovereigns in front of him, and Emperor Qingming who was frantically chasing after him, Dongbu Shuang also understood how bad the situation was. The first half of the Blood Demon Scripture. I only knew that the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction had the second half of the Blood Demon Scripture. Who would have thought that the Howling Devil cult leader would actually be able to obtain the first half by chance? Dongbu Shuang thought to himself, and it even fell into my hands. The Howling Devil cult leader must be so distressed that he's about to go crazy. Knowing that he won't be able to obtain the first half of the Blood Demon Scripture, he might as well make it public. Absolute Art. Moreover, it was the original version of the Absolute Art. Dongbu Shuang had learned the Luminous Sun from his master, but it was merely an inheritance. The original version was still with his master. Its original value was extremely high, and it could be used to pass down the inheritance over and over again. No wonder everyone is going crazy. Dongbu Shuaying's thoughts were extremely fast, and he instantly understood the degree of danger he was in. Hand over the Blood Demon Scripture. He had never thought of that. Because even if he handed it over, the various powerful existences who had already started to surround him, those who did not manage to obtain the Blood Demon Scripture would definitely kill him while they were at it, so that they could obtain the reward bestowed by the will of the Abyss. Then, let's fight. Let's fight for a way out. Dongbu Shuaying's eyes flashed with an astonishing sharpness. At the same time, a layer of black armor appeared on the surface of his body. The flow of the black armor completely covered his entire body. He also wore a helmet on his head, and even his face was covered by a black soft mask. Not a single part of his body was exposed. From the blood-robed man from before, he had turned into a soldier of the army of destruction. Your Highness Dongbua, don't run anymore. Stay behind and accompany me. The blurry green mist shrouded the Starfield flying ship, instantly seeping into Dongbu Shuaying's body. An invisible force began to corrode Dongbu Shuaying's true deity heart. Hallucination. Dongbu Shuaying's powerful will instantly spread out in all directions. As a soldier of the army of destruction, the difficulty of the test was much higher than the first test. Dongbu Shuaying's god heart was already like glass. His will was able to forcefully break through the illusion and even spread out. The Abyss sovereigns surrounding Dongbu Shuaying were all stunned. Except for the two true gods, Monarch Qingming and the Mountain Ridge Sovereign, who were unaffected, the other three Abyss sovereigns all felt their divine hearts being attacked. For a moment, their divine hearts' perception of their surroundings became somewhat blurry, and they felt a suffocating pressure. As expected of a genius world deity from the deity world. What a powerful will! Monarch Mountain Ridge's voice was powerful and majestic, reverberating through the world. His huge fist was already smashing over. It was as if the punishment of the heavens and earth had descended. A sledgehammer directly smashed down. As the fist approached, it was as if a huge dark cloud had smashed down. It was much bigger than the entire Starfield flying ship. "Get out of my way!" In order to escape, the black-armored Dongbush Shuang did not hold back at all. The scarlet cloud spear in his hand was like a red divine dragon. It directly rose up and smashed against the huge dark cloud-like fist. Pang! As the two collided head-on, space shattered, and this layer of the abyss world trembled faintly. Monarch Mountain Ridge was originally full of confidence, but in an instant, his expression changed. His eyes widened, because the scarlet cloud spear was like a divine dragon. As it smashed against the huge fist, its power did not slow down at all. It then smashed against his chest. Monarch Mountain Ridge's towering body, which seemed to be as tall as the sky, was directly sent flying. His feet left the ground as he flew backwards with a whistling sound. The power of this attack caused the expressions of Monarch Qingming and the other three to change. What? He actually smashed Monarch Mountain Ridge away. Monarch Mountain Ridge specializes in strength, but he was actually suppressed in a head-on clash. Even the skinny old man, who had fought with Dongbush Shuang before, was speechless. When he fought with Dongbush Shuang, his world avatar was directly smashed apart. In any case, the difference in strength between them was huge. However, this skinny old man did not expect that the powerful existence known for his strength, Monarch Mountain Ridge, would actually be sent flying. Where did such strength come from? Humph, Shuang sneered. The soldiers from the Destruction Legion under the Lake Heart Island Master could move unhindered in all directions. Even the most ordinary soldier was not someone ordinary true gods could fight against. Furthermore, he had the luminous sun force. In terms of realms, the 5 people in front of him were all higher than him. In terms of strength and speed, none of them could compare to him. Hong, the Starfield flying ship tore through the spacetime tunnel and flew at high speed. Dongbush Shuang was wearing black armor and wielding the Scarlet Cloud spear. He was ferocious, crushing anyone who dared to block his way. The 3 Stage 4 World Deity Sovereigns were simply unable to block him head-on. Dongbush Shuang, stop! Monarch Qingming's voice reverberated in Dongbush Shuaying's mind. Hua 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 hua, numerous figures of Monarch Qingming appeared in front of the Starfield flying ship. They were densely packed, and the number of figures was uncountable. Some of them were fake, while others were real. Countless figures, each wielding a blade, flew over. Scram! Dongbush Shuang swept his spear horizontally, stirring up a violent wind that formed a terrifying shockwave that tore through space and destroyed everything in its path. As long as the figures of Monarch Qingming were touched by the shockwave, they would disappear like bubbles. However, even more figures of Monarch Qingming had already reached Dongbush Shuaying's side. The surrounding spacetime was unable to stop him. Pooh! Qi Dong! One blade after another fell on Dongbush Shuaying's body. Some were slashing, some were stabbing, some were cutting, some were slapping, and some were light poking. Monarch Qingming was indeed an expert in blade techniques. He was a true god who had transcended. His countless years of fighting experience in the Dark Abyss had all been integrated into his blade techniques. The entire laws of heaven and earth had transformed into a complete set of blade techniques. In terms of realm, he could completely oppress Dongbush Shuang. Each of his blade techniques had all kinds of profoundness. Some wanted to forcibly penetrate into the body, some shook the body to the point of collapse, and some were extremely sharp cuts. However, no matter how many blade techniques hacked on the black armor on the surface of Dongbush Shuaying's body, not even a trace was left on the surface of the armor. The remaining impact, which had been weakened by the armor, was unable to affect the movements of Dongbush Shuang, who had an incomparably tyrannical body and terrifying strength. Dongbush Shuaying's gaze turned towards the large group of besieging Monarch Qingming, and the Scarlet Cloud spear in his hand swept out once again, directly sweeping across. Bang, bang, bang. A large number of Monarch Qingming's figures dissipated, and his true body immediately fled to the distance. His body actually dares to let me attack it, and I can't even injure him in the slightest? Monarch Qingming was greatly shocked. His defense was invincible. Absolutely invincible. Even if he just stood there and let Dongbu Shuang attack him, Monarch Qingming, would not be able to do anything. Those who block me, die. Shuang furiously roared. His furious roar was accompanied by his willpower as it spread out in all directions. Even the 3-stage 4-world deity monarchs who wanted to surround and attack him trembled. The unseen sound continued to spread out, and the countless ordinary demons in this layer of abyss world could feel this furious willpower from afar. Those demons had long since fled far away. Those demons who were near the center of the battlefield had long since been turned into ashes by the shockwaves of the battle. Even from hundreds of billions of miles away, one could feel the violent fluctuations of this battle. Those who block me, die. 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 This tyrannical roar was transmitted out along with his will. It caused countless demons to be alarmed. This angry roar had already been forcefully imprinted in this space. Even if tens of millions of years passed, this angry roar would still be heard again and again. We can't kill him. Monarch Qingming transmitted, everyone, let's join hands and restrain him. As long as we can make a contribution, the White Sovereign King will definitely not treat us unfairly. Alright. Sovereign Mountain Ridge also agreed. Such an existence with unparalleled defense and boundless strength, none of them could stop him in a one-on-one fight. They had to join hands and do their best to stop him. Hong. The Starfield flying ship did not stop in the slightest. Dongbu Shuang was also incomparably anxious. He understood that the longer this dragged on, the more uncertain his chances of survival would be. After all, the Dark Abyss did not only have these sovereigns. As time passed, even more powerful existences would arrive one after another. Those peak powerful existences, even existences on the level of the Nine-Yang Palace head, would arrive one after another. This was especially true for paragons. Dongbu Shuang was very clear that the moment a paragon arrived, he would be finished off in a single move. Stop him. Stop him. Monarch Qingming and the other 4 also went all out. However, all of them were extremely careful. They did not want to lose their lives. The furious Dongbu Shuang was truly dangerous. Chapter 587. Dongbu Shuang had relied on his absolute advantage in strength to drive the Starfield flying ship all the way to the 40th level of the Abyss. He was like a barbaric bear. Although the other 5 Abyss sovereigns could be considered good hunters, they could only slow him down slightly. Dongbu Shuang. Dongbu Shuang, you actually dare to enter the depths of the Abyss? Numerous figures were rapidly closing in on him. Dongbu Shuang sent out his senses and confirmed that there were currently 11 Abyss sovereigns in the 40th level of the Abyss. Some had chased him from the upper levels of the Abyss, while others had come from the deeper levels to intercept him. As time drags on, more and more will surround me. I cultivate the extreme annihilation mysterious body, and my defense can be said to be invincible. However, that is only when compared to ordinary powerful existences. If the enemy is too strong, my armor might not be able to hold on. Dongbu Shuang thought. He was, after all, a stage 3 world deity. One could say that his defense was the weakest among the soldiers of the army of destruction. My chance of survival lies right there. Dongbu Shuang was doing his best to fight against the surrounding sovereigns. He was forcefully suppressing them, but his gaze had already landed on a colossal figure in the distance. It was a rather unique and enormous mountain range. In different directions of the mountain range, there were a total of 3 gigantic demonic skulls. Each of these skulls was at least 1 trillion kilometers tall, and they seemed to touch the highest point of the sky of this level of the Abyss. The three demonic skulls were situated in three different directions of the mountain range. Each of these skulls had their mouths wide open. Their mouths, nostrils, eyes, and ears were all entrances to the mountain range. This was an ancient ruin that had existed since the great apocalypse of the universe, the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Whether I can survive or not will depend on my final gamble. Dongbua Shui Ying's eyes were filled with anticipation. Why did he not flee out of the abyss? Instead, he continued to drill deeper into the abyss. Because of the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Dongbua Shuang was very clear that the moment he was rejected by the will of the abyss, it would lead the experts of the abyss to hunt him down. Perhaps they would not risk their lives, but if he were to escape from the 37th level, the 36th level, the 35th level, even if he were to escape, just that White Sovereign King alone would be enough to destroy him with a flip of his hand. Other than the White Sovereign King, there was still the Patrol Devil King. Even though he wasn't a paragon, he was able to preserve his life in front of a paragon. Furthermore, his killing moves were extremely powerful, and even Nine Yang Palace Head and purple-gowned Hex Emperor might have the upper hand. Such an existence could easily deal with him. Thus, he decided to escape. Just these two alone were more than enough to deal with over 30 levels of the abyssal world, let alone the other dangers. Even without the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, Dongbua Shuang knew that his only way out was to escape to the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Firstly, the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain was very close. It was in the 40th layer of the abyss. Previously, he was on the 37th level, which was very close to it. Secondly, the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain was an ancient ruin. Powerful existences would not dare to wander around carelessly after entering it, unlike the normal abyssal world where they could hunt him down. As long as he escaped, they would have to be careful of the dangers of the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. His survivability was strong, and he had a chance of surviving in the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. If not for the Blood Demon scripture, they would not be so crazy to try and surround me. I would have easily escaped into the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Dongbua Shuang felt helpless. The Blood Demon scripture had caused him to be surrounded by so many experts just by escaping from the 37th level to the 40th level. South Dongbua Shuang controlled the Starfield flying ship and rapidly flew towards the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. The Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain was too huge. Just the three demon heads alone covered an area of 1 trillion kilometers. The entire Sacred Mountain occupied close to half of this level of the abyssal world. The reason why Dongbua Shuang was still flying was because he was trying his best to reach the nearest entrance. There were no other entrances to the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. The only way was through the three demon heads. Stop him! Stop him! The abyssal sovereigns who were still several trillion kilometers away but had already arrived on this level transmitted their voices anxiously. At their level, all sorts of changes would occur in every instant. Although 11 abyssal sovereigns had already gathered on this level, only 7 of them could actually attack him at close range. The other 4 had yet to arrive. Of the 7, only 3 were powerful existences, and they were all at the level of ordinary powerful existences. That was why Dongbua Shuang was still able to hold on for so long. Get out of my way! Dongbua Shuang was only about 100 billion kilometers away from the nearest entrance. Using the Starfield flying ship to tear through the space-time passageway was extremely fast. Dongbua Shuang continued to use his spear techniques, even using his body to block the attacks to save time. Finally, swish! It was like a mirage. Piloting the Starfield flying ship, Dongbua Shuang dove into the ear of one of the goat-like demon heads of the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. The ear hole was also several billion kilometers wide, and there were countless thick hairs on it. Each hair was as thick as a towering tree. Dongbua Shuang almost instantly dove into the hole. After him. The abyssal sovereigns who had been chasing after Dongbua Shuang felt a formless pressure the moment they entered the hole. They could no longer use their domains. They could not even use their world energy. They could no longer traverse through spacetime. The abyssal sovereigns who were chasing after Dongbu Shuang immediately slowed down. Powerful ancient ruins usually had powerful suppressions, and there were even some places where the laws of nature were completely altered. It was said that there was such a place in the depths of the Lake Heart Island. Of course, even if Dongbu Shuang was in the Lake Heart Island, he would only go to a relatively special place called the Destruction Paradise. In truth, the depths of the Blazing Blood Door were also special, but he did not dare to enter. This was also the reason why he saved his wife back then. Of course, he understood that even if he entered, the chances of him coming out alive would be slim. The White Sovereign King wore a silver-white armor, looking incomparably handsome as he advanced through the void. The 25th level of the abyss, the 26th level, the 27th level, the 28th level, his speed was extremely fast, even faster than the Starfield flying ship. But he still had to advance through each level. The Dao I've opened is used for battle, but it's not good for traveling. The White Sovereign King lightly shook his head. Even if he wasn't good at it, his speed of traversing through spacetime was still much faster than most powerful existences. Reporting to the White Sovereign King, Dongbu Shuiying's defense is invincible, and his strength is boundless. We can only barely slow down his speed. Reporting to the White Sovereign King, he has already reached the 40th level of the abyss. Reporting to the White Sovereign King, Dongbu Shuiying is rushing towards the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. We won't make it. We can't stop him. The Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain had 3 entrances to the Demon's Head. Since Dongbu Shuiying had chosen the closest one, he would naturally be able to reach it quickly. When Dongbu Shuiying entered through the ear hole of a demon's head that looked like a goat, the White Sovereign King had already reached the 35th level of the abyss. This His Highness Dongbu still has some self-awareness. He has been fleeing towards the 40th level right from the start. He should be clear that only by hiding in the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain will he have a chance of survival. There's no hope for him in any other place. The White Sovereign King lightly shook his head. It's just that that group of trash is truly useless. They couldn't even stop a Stage 3 world deity. He saved Paragon Huicheng. Is this the strength of the army of destruction soldiers? He's just a Stage 3 world deity. The White Sovereign King thought. He had also gone to the Destruction Paradise and tried to join the army of destruction, but it was a pity that he failed. When he went there, he already had the strength of a paragon. To join the army of destruction, the difficulty of the test was naturally ridiculously high. Just by hiding in the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain, does he think he can escape? The White Sovereign King's lips curled into a smile. Inside the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. After flying through the ear hole of the gigantic demon's head, Dongbu Shuiying was still carefully sensing behind him. All of a sudden, his expression changed. That was because the crimson sharp shard he kept in his storage wristband was actually trembling. There was a faint, invisible force that was attracting it. Dongbu Shuiying could sense the direction of that attractive force. This shard, is it being summoned? Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. This shard was one of the treasures left behind by the frozen corpse of the Paragon expert on the island in the center of the lake. Although that Paragon expert could determine that this shard was extraordinary, he couldn't find any use for it. Dongbu Shuiying had pondered about it before, but he couldn't figure it out either. Therefore, he had long thrown it into the corner of his storage wristband and completely ignored it. Unexpectedly, after entering the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain, this crimson sharp shard was being attracted by an invisible force. Chapter 588. Who would have thought that the shard would be summoned at such a time? Dongbu Shuiying shook his head. What a pity that this is not the right time. Right now, the most important thing for me is to escape. If I don't survive, everything I have on me, including the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, will be taken away. Dongbu Shuiying immediately tossed the dark red sharp shard to the back of his mind. He knew what he had to do. Currently, there were many Abyss Sovereigns entering the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Some of them were even stronger than him, and some of them could even kill him with a flip of their hands. Searching for treasures at such a time was akin to courting death. So he turned into a stream of light and fled at top speed. So. The Abyss Sovereigns that entered through the nostrils, mouths, and ears of the Abyss Sovereigns immediately used their karmic connection to lock onto Dongbush Shui Ying's approximate location. Their pursuit of Dongbush Shui Ying had already created some karmic connection. Everything within 5 million kilometers of him is a chaotic blur. He definitely has a treasure that can isolate all probing laws. But at least we can confirm that he's in that area. The Abyss Sovereigns chased confidently. They were clear that as time passed, the number of Abyss Sovereigns would only increase. In fact, other than the first 50 levels, many experts from the deeper regions of the Dark Abyss would also interfere. Paragons might also come. At that time, the number of experts would increase. Dongbush Shui Ying was merely struggling at death's door. The news of Dongbush Shui Ying obtaining the first half of the Blood Demon scripture and being hunted down in the Dark Abyss spread throughout the deity world. At first, it was only Blood Blade, Paragon Huicheng, and a few other peak existences. Gradually, the powerful existences of the deity world, and even Stage 4 world deities, heard of it. After all, the commotion caused by the pursuit of Dongbush Shui Ying was simply too great. The number of Abyss Sovereigns participating was simply too great. It was simply a rare occasion in the Dark Abyss. Snow Eagle. In the inner world of the Xia people's world, Red Rock Mountain, in a corner of an elegant restaurant, Jing Qiu was accompanying the white-robed Dongbush Shui Ying as they enjoyed the unique delicacies of this restaurant. Jing Qiu looked at Dongbush Shui Ying worriedly. "Are you being chased?" The white-robed Dongbush Shui Ying smiled and nodded. "I've heard that many abyssal sovereigns are heading towards the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain. Rumor has it that even the Great Destruction Emperor has set off," Jing Qiu said worriedly. "The Great Destruction Emperor's strength is unfathomable." The white-robed Dongbush Shui Ying raised his wine glass and chuckled. "Jing Qiu, you're quite well informed. My father told me about it." He and many of his old friends have been discussing this matter. As of now, not only has this matter spread throughout the entire Dark Abyss, even the powerful existences of the deity world and many Stage 4 world deities are talking about it, Jing Qiu said. "Your man is quite amazing, isn't he? He caused such a huge commotion just by going to the Dark Abyss." Dongbush Shui Ying laughed. "You can still laugh." Jing Qiu felt helpless. Her heart was filled with worry. "Why can't I laugh? At worst, I'll just lose a clone. I can cultivate another one. It's just a pity that the Scarlet Cloud Spear was personally refined for me by my master," Dongbush Shui Ying said. "Didn't you say that there's still the first half of the Blood Demon scripture?" Jing Qiu asked. "It's just the first half, not the complete book. Moreover, I've already sensed the original Blood Demon scripture, but it's too bloody and evil. I'm afraid it's not suitable for me." Shui Ying shook his head. He would be firm if he had no desires. He already had the complete absolute arts, luminous sun, and extreme annihilation mysterious body. Naturally, he would not be as crazy as Stage 4 world deities and powerful existences. This was also the reason why even paragons were so calm. Most paragons would have absolute arts on them. Moreover, it was only the first half of the Blood Demon scripture, so its allure was extremely low. Fortunately, it was the original copy, which had the effect of being passed down. Jing Qiu, seeing how relaxed Dongbush Shui Ying was also influenced and relaxed. "Still," she asked, "are you confident of escaping?" "Confident? Ha ha ha." Dongbush Shui Ying shook his head. "I'm trapped in the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain of the Dark Abyss, and an endless stream of abyssal sovereigns are coming to surround me. Who would dare say they're confident of surviving? It's just a gamble. Being able to fight to one's heart's content is already not bad." Jing Qiu nodded lightly. While the two were discussing, no one else in the restaurant could hear what they were talking about. They couldn't even imagine that one of them was a stage 4 world deity, and the other possessed the combat power of a powerful existence, the master of Crimson Rock Mountain. Other than Paragon Huacheng, who was trapped in the ancient cavern dwelling, there was another person who was willing to risk his life for Shuang and had the strength to do so, one of the 3 ancestors, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master. Violet Bamboo Sea. The arrays surrounding the bamboo house had long since been activated, making it hard for outsiders to approach. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master was currently sitting cross-legged in an empty space in front of the house. One of his avatars was roaming around the ancient cavern dwelling, while his main body was doing his best to help his avatar. Amen. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master opened his long and narrow eyes, which contained a trace of doubt. Dongbo Shuang has met with trouble. The first half of the Blood Demon scripture. Killing a stage 4 world deity allowed him to obtain the first half of the Blood Demon scripture by chance. Is this the accumulation of luck of a peerless genius and the love of the universe? The corner of the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master's mouth curled into a sneer. He felt disdain for this so-called love. Because he had once experienced such things. Back then, his cultivation speed was slightly slower than that of Dongbo Shuang, but the degree of brilliance he displayed was not any less. In fact, his ability to fight against those of a higher realm was even stronger. This is love, but it is also a calamity. If I am willing, I wish to be ordinary. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master thought to himself. The days of being loved by the universe were too bitter. But every single person who stood at the apex was someone who could endure countless calamities to grow. He, the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master, was stuck at the most crucial bottleneck, unable to transcend. Dongbo Shuang. The Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Master directly transmitted a karmic message, I am Bamboo Mountain. Pooh! The pathetic-looking Dongbo Shuang spat out blood as he fled with all his might. Your Highness Dongbo, do you only know how to flee? A unique octopus-like life form chased after him. However, Dongbo Ying's fleeing speed was indeed very fast. Both the luminous sun force and the extreme annihilation mysterious body excelled in strength and speed. His strength was terrifying, and his speed had also reached an astonishing level. Within the 3 chieftains' sacred mountain, one would suffer from formless suppression. All the powerful existences were unable to use their domains or mobilize the world energy. All they could do was slowly fly. Purely in terms of flying speed, Dongbo Shuang had a huge advantage. That was why he felt that he had a chance of escaping. This Emperor Qi Hai's frontal attacks are truly very strong. His cultivation realm is also extremely profound. Even my extreme annihilation mysterious body's black armor is unable to completely block it. Dongbo Shuang forcefully stabilized the boiling blood in his body as he fled with all his might. This Emperor Qi Hai's speed was also extremely fast. He was even faster than most powerful existences. But compared to Dongbo Shuang, he was still slightly inferior. Once I'm entangled by him, I won't be able to escape. Dongbo Shuang was very clear on how powerful those tentacles were. He continued to flee frantically. Dongbo Shuang, I am Bamboo Mountain. A karmic voice transmission was transmitted over. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord. Dongbo Shuang immediately replied. I know that you're trapped in the 3 chieftains' sacred mountain. Do you need my help? Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord asked via voice transmission. Although his clone was within the ancient cave mansion, his main body still needed to focus on divining the various dangers to assist him. However, he owed Dongbo Shuang a huge favor. If Dongbo Shuang needed his help, he naturally wouldn't hesitate. Dongbo Shuang immediately replied, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord, you should be aware of my current situation. I'm afraid that even if Prefecture Lord were to make a move, you wouldn't have the confidence to save me. According to what I know, the White Sovereign King and Paragon Devil Kite have both arrived at the 3 chieftains' sacred mountain. Although the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction hasn't confirmed that he has also arrived, He's definitely paying close attention to the three chieftains' sacred mountain. I only have the confidence to deal with the White Sovereign King. If Paragon Devil Kite were to make a move, I might be able to save you from their encirclement. But if the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction were to make a move, then there's no hope at all, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord replied calmly. Dongbush Shuang didn't find it strange at all. As one of the three ancestors, Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord was extremely powerful. He could definitely fight against the White Sovereign King, who was famous for his slaughter. He was still slightly stronger than Paragon Devil Kite. Paragon Devil Kite was still slightly lacking in terms of direct combat. But the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction? After all, he was the strongest amongst all the paragons in the Dark Abyss. He was the closest to becoming a ruler. If Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord were to make a move, I'm afraid some of the paragons in the Dark Abyss would feel that letting you save me so easily is a great humiliation to the entire Dark Abyss. Who knows, there might even be other paragons who would make a move. Dongbush Shuang replied. Thank you, Prefecture Lord. This is also a form of training for me. There's nothing to worry about. At most, I'll just lose a clone. Alright. Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord immediately severed the karmic connection. Dongbush Shuang could taste the blood in his mouth. He couldn't help but feel helpless as his body was recovering from the injuries. Although he spoke to his wife and the Bamboo Mountain Prefecture Lord with great confidence, he knew that the situation was worsening. Chapter 589. It had only been 2 hours since he entered the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain, but Shuang could already feel the difficulty of escaping rapidly increasing. For instance, Emperor Qi Hai, who had just fought with him and was still chasing after him, was the sovereign of the 85th level world of the Dark Abyss. Clearly, the number of Abyss sovereigns chasing after him was increasing. They were coming from different entrances and passageways to kill him. His luck was good this time. Although Emperor Qi Hai was strong and could be considered at the top among the powerful existences, he was slower than him. Hence, he could still shake him off. What if he met someone as fast as him next time? What if he met a paragon? Sigh, I want to find a place to hide the original copy of the Blood Demon scripture, but I can't find a good place to do so. Dongbush Shuang flew at high speed while observing the passageway. It was fine if he was killed, but if the original copy of the Blood Demon scripture was taken away as well, that would be a huge failure. He had always wanted to learn from his father-in-law how to hide a true god weapon. He wanted to find a place to hide the Blood Demon scripture. It's a pity that this is the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain, Dongbush Shuang thought. On the island, there were layers of ice everywhere. It was very easy to disguise a treasure as an ice crystal. On the other hand, the passageways of the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain were extremely tough and indestructible. Even if his Blood Demon scripture was disguised as something else, the Abyss sovereigns only needed to release their world deity energy and sweep it away. At the same time, on the island, the powerful existences did not dare to wantonly destroy everything along the way. This was because the island was too dangerous. The bigger the commotion, the greater the danger. If they dared to sweep away countless layers of ice, large groups of monsters or even more terrifying existences would appear. Hence, everyone kept a low profile on the island. Even if they fought occasionally, they would quickly leave the battlefield. As for the Three Chieftains' sacred mountain, the danger level was much lower. It was no longer a threat to rulers. Although paragons were slightly dangerous, as long as they were careful, they would be able to survive. The threat to powerful existences was also not too great. There were only a few places that could pose a threat to powerful existences. The most important thing was, he had only escaped for 2 hours. How far could he have flown in 2 hours? Not even 10 billion kilometers. Following the path that Dongbush Shuang had taken, it wouldn't be too difficult for him to find the Blood Demon scripture as long as he spent some time on it. If only it was the island in the middle of the lake, they wouldn't have dared to conduct such a thorough search. Dongbush Shuang shook his head. Time passed. There were already 2 venerables and 125 abyssal sovereigns gathered at the 3 chieftains' sacred mountain. They followed different paths and headed in from different directions. I can't run away like this anymore. If I continue to run, I will definitely be caught within an hour. There were cracks on Dongbush Shui Ying's black armor, and the cracks were healing. The bones in his body were shattered, and a large amount of his flesh and blood were also healing quickly. Behind him, there was a giant with a leather skirt wrapped around his waist, roaring as he chased after Dongbush Shui Ying with a huge axe in his hand. His speed was extremely fast. Dongbush Shui Ying's speed was almost the same as his. Dongbush Shui Ying, you won't be able to escape. The giant ran with large strides, his brownish-yellow eyes filled with coldness. Hand over the blood demon scripture. He was the famous existence of the dark abyss, Wild Mo. Although his name seemed ordinary, he was ranked in the top few amongst the existences below the Paragon realm. His strength was close to that of the 9 Yang Palace head and the purple-gowned Hex Sovereign. He was famous for his ferocious attacks and his powerful defense. In battle, he would often use his body to block the attacks of his enemies, and his huge axe would take the opportunity to kill his enemies. The power of his axe was extremely strong. Dongbush Shui Ying had a taste of his own medicine. With just a single swing of his axe, he was sent flying far away. Cracks appeared on his black armor, and his body was shattered. Fortunately, his luminous sun force enveloped his entire body, allowing him to continue running for his life. Hand over the blood demon scripture, hand it over. Wild Mo roared. His body was too big, and he was somewhat clumsy. Although his body was extremely strong, and his speed was also very fast, he was only comparable to Dongbush Shui Ying. As long as I can obtain the original copy of the blood demon scripture, I believe that the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction will be willing to exchange it with me. Back then, the Heavenly Emperor of Great Destruction was able to use it to step into the Paragon realm. I can do the same. Wild Mo was also filled with ambition. And then, Dongbush Shui Ying suddenly saw a huge hole in front of him. The passageway was rapidly widening, and it was connected to another hole in the distance. This hole was at least 50 billion kilometers in diameter. One must know that Dongbush Shui Ying had fled for more than 2 hours, and that distance was only about 50 billion kilometers. Yet, this hole was so huge, and there was even a boundless amount of wind being sucked into it, forming a powerful whirlpool. As he got closer, Dongbush Shui Ying's body became somewhat unstable. The suction force of this hole was simply too strong. Go in. Dongbush Shui Ying did not hesitate. He knew that if he continued running, his chances of survival would become lower and lower. Facing this terrifying suction force, he did not slow down at all. Instead, he increased his speed along with the suction force. And then, Wild Mo, on the other hand, began to slow down. Eventually, he stopped right in front of the huge hole and did not continue chasing. The danger's in here, even I might lose my life. The almighty Wild Mo hesitated for a moment. Following which, he sent out a doppelganger. A doppelganger made of true god power immediately flew out and entered the terrifying hole. The wind within the hole grew stronger and stronger. After Dongbush Shui Ying entered the hole along with the suction force, his flying speed rapidly increased. At the same time, the space-time around him began to distort. Although his flying speed seemed to be only 2 or 3 times faster than before, because of the distortions in space-time, he would occasionally traverse billions of kilometers in one go. In fact, he did not even dare to increase his speed anymore. This was because the suction force of the suction force was causing him to lose control of his body. South Dongbush Shui Ying was being sucked into the hole at high speed. This hole was extremely dark and extremely long. And then, Dongbush Shui Ying saw a flash of light in the distance. It was a fork in the road. Dongbush Shui Ying did not enter. Instead, he continued to fly along the hole. As he flew, he would occasionally encounter a fork in the road. This must be the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain's demonic whirlpool. Dongbua Shuang continued to fly along with the suction force. It's also the most dangerous place in the entire Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. Indeed. This was the most dangerous place, a place that could even pose a threat to paragons. Within the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain, there were many passageways leading to the demonic whirlpool. Once one entered the demonic whirlpool, one would have a chance of reaching some of the truly ancient places of the Three Chieftains' Sacred Mountain. This was a place of great danger. Even paragons had to be careful. This is it. Dongbua Shuang flew past 15 forks in a row. Finally, he saw a flash of light in front of him. This time, he did not continue to fly deeper into the demonic whirlpool. Instead, he controlled his own energy and began to approach that flash of light. This flash of light was a fork in the road. It was an entrance roughly 10 billion kilometers in diameter. Who? Dongbua Shuang flew at a speed of nearly 2 million kilometers per second. In an instant, he charged into the fork. Following that, he felt the violent winds disappear. Instead, the air resistance around him increased greatly. Dongbua Shuang looked around. This was a dusky world. The sky was dark, but the ground was extremely smooth and flat. It was like a desert, smooth and flat without any protrusions. Most powerful existences would hesitate before entering, but paragons would still dare to enter, Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. With the help of karma, I believe it won't take long for them to catch up to me here. I'll have to think of something. Dongbua Shuang carefully observed the world around him. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.